Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
Talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy Austin Ward. My good buddy Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah.
And then, and then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only two guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Bo, the boys with you for the next three. Jake Trotter going to stop by as is customary at 10:30. Joshua Perry going to join us at 11:30. It is a Hey Guys First Friday. Plenty of time to get your Hey Guys questions into the fellas at 971 BFS. You can hit them up in the YouTube chat as well. Is the winner receiving things? Do we have that? Do we have a winner receiving things today? We do. Oh, boy. Our good friends at High Bank. The bourbon dropped last week. Smashing success by all the information that I am receiving. And I know Bake was able to procure a couple of bottles, so that's a big win there. And so you will be able to get the $50 gift card there in the distillery tour as well. All right. This is pretty great. I got a message on social from my buddy Ross, who I used to work with at 10 TV. And he wrote, can't say I'm mentally prepared to hear my brother, Bo Bishop, shake off yesterday's Michigan cheating bombshell with ice-cold takes about the NCAA being toothless, despite smoking two major programs who are completely cooperative in recent years. That team up north is cooked. Okay, so this is Ross Dellinger on the reporting on this. I do think a couple of things before we get into how we think this is all going to go. It is noteworthy to me, and I'll ask Jake Trotter about this, if you go on ESPN.com and you pull up their NCAA football page, there is no mention of this. Not in the headlines, not in the top story. The top headlines are QB Castellanos joins something special at FSU. Virginia Tech hires somebody as a new DC. Jim Knowles joins Penn State. Minus Knowles, OSU celebrates title. Sources, some quarterback in 2026 pulled, and then Sanders not going to throw at the combine. I mean, there's 8 of them. The reality is none of them are about Michigan and the details of it. Now, some of that could be that this is Ross Bjork and Yahoo who got not Ross Bjork, Ross Dellinger, who got the reporting on this on Yahoo, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know. It also could be that there's some fatigue with all of this, and it also could be that a gross many of us are aware that the folks who really did this at the highest level can no longer be punished. You cannot punish Jim Harbaugh anymore. It's cooked. He's coaching the Chargers. He's Danny Ocean, as I said many times. He robbed the Bellagio and he's gone. And he's into the night at this point. So there's no pound of flesh for him. Connor Stalions has already been fired. I suppose you could make it so that he never coaches again in college football or is available to coach college football. Maybe that would be a pound of flesh that feels pretty good. Some of the reporting in this is pretty wild, like in terms of what Michigan – it's quite honestly like one of those things like, really? This is where we're at? Like Sharon Moore claims that the reason he deleted text messages between him and Stalions – this is the quote in the report. So I deleted all the information, all Connor, on my personal phone. And it wasn't to hide anything. It was just that I was extremely angry of, the type of person that would do that to this program and these kids. No, it wasn't trying to hide anything. He was just mad. Just mad about it, which is comedy. So everything Ross said can be true. The NCAA can be totally toothless. The NCAA, in terms of a pound of flesh, you're probably not going to get everything that you want because the people who are most responsible are gone. Now, my guess is what many of you want is for their national title to be taken away. Well, we already have a president of the NCAA from when they made their run a year ago saying, yeah, we're not going to do that. So what is appropriate? Why is this story not being covered at a higher level? This is the fifth. I went on the freepress.com in Detroit. It was the fifth story down there. They did acknowledge it, though, as opposed to ESPN, which has no acknowledgement of it. Is it fatigue? Is it fear that nothing, or reality that nothing too major is going to happen to them? What would satisfy a Buckeye Nation on this? I know that my hunch is what you want is that national championship to be torn away. I just don't think it's happening. And they've said so. The reason I know that is because Charlie Baker said so.
I think it's yes. Your question, it can be answered yes, all of it. I'm looking at Yahoo Sports, and it is almost front and center.
Yeah,
along with some Dallas Cowboys, and the Dodgers somehow have just an infinite pile of money that they can throw at people. But I think it's all of it. It's general disinterest now because we're a couple years removed from Jim Harbaugh being there, because we know as a general sporting collective that there's nothing going to happen to Michigan. I think for Ohio State fan, the pound of flesh would you sanction them into oblivion. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're able to kick them into the college football pit somehow, where they're not able to get scholarships, or where they'll be limited in postseasons, but it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case either. I know in that 137-page response by the university, it said they're not going to come to a settlement on this.
No,
telling the NCAA, fighting. You can go to hell, yep. And this will go to a committee of an infractions hearing, which whatever the hell that means. And if you remember with Tennessee, that was a couple of years. The decision from the NCAA was a couple of years removed from what had actually happened. So the molasses movement, I think, has a lot of people with their eyes glazed over about this whole thing.
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on with both. I think that the villains are gone, right? Like Harbaugh isn't there anymore. Stallions isn't there anymore. Those were the two main villains in this story, and they cannot get punished. There's nothing that the NCAA or anyone can do to them now that is going to affect them. And then what is the punishment anyway? Like, even if they take away a national championship, what does that mean? Like, we still saw it on the field. We still saw them win. Like, Ohio State doesn't have a 99 Final Four banner anymore. But guess what? That doesn't take my memories of that season and that team away. So no. I don't know what they can do to hurt this team. The only thing they can do is hurt future players right now, and that's not really fair.
No, yeah, it'll be scholarship reductions, and if they limit, what Sharon Moore can do off campus. I mean, some of these texts are pretty damaging. In August of 22, there was a text from Stallions to Moore. Stallions describes needing time to meet with this coach to discuss a juicer report for you on CSU. That was in advance of the Michigan-Colorado State game. Michigan won 51-7. In October of 2022, Stallions sent Moore a single text about Michigan State's blitzing signals, rules, and tendencies. Michigan played Michigan State every year, and Michigan State never changed its signals, the document says, providing context with the text. In November of 22, this is starting to get to where it would affect us. Stallion suggests to Moore that Michigan should change its signals ahead of the Ohio State game. Moore responded that he'll think about it, and Stallions responded that Nebraska is screwed, a reference to the fact he could easily decipher the Huskers' signals ahead of the Wolverines game against them that very week. Michigan won that game 34-3, but Moore told university officials that Nebraska used wristbands, so there were no signs signaling. The other kind of constant in all of this, perhaps this is the most interesting, this is from April of 2023. Stallion sent a note to Moore that Central Michigan assistant coach Jake Costner planned to visit the facility to meet with Moore. Central Michigan opened the 2023 season with Michigan State, which UM regularly played. Ironically enough, Stallions is believed to have attended that game, Central Michigan versus Michigan State, while in disguise. We all know that. In fact, CMU fired Costner last fall as the NCAA investigated the matter of Stallions' alleged appearance on the sideline of that game. Michigan's claim in all of this is, we maybe did some of this, but this isn't as big a deal as you're making it out to be. And their response is that this is a quote from the response. An enormous amount of the signal decoding was therefore permissibly done with TV and other publicly available footage. They're saying, look, everybody's doing it. Everybody's done it. We just did it better than everybody else. That's going to be their claim. They even refuted the NCAA's assertion that they failed to monitor its football program. So they're in for the fight on this, as big as can possibly be. The question is, how does this end? How hard do they get hit? That's it. And then what can they take that would satisfy? And I think Bake's point's right. I think there'd be satisfaction in a Buckeye Nation if that national championship was pulled away. Is it satisfactory if you go to the Chrysler Arena and you look up and you see no Final Four banners for the Fab Five? I don't know. I don't know if does that hit or not. We all remember the Fab Five. It happened. How does that all hit? So I think that's what you're trying to do here. The most punishable thing I would say in terms of the future of their program, and when I ask most people this, they say they want their program burnt to ashes. And I get it because of what happened here. I think that the most punishable thing that you could do to their program going forward was tell Sharon Moore that you can't recruit off campus. And if you do that, that's punishment. That's absolutely punishment. But it's all of those things. And I do think it's interesting that when I pop on the ESPN front page today, there's no sign of this. And I think it is all of the things that we're mentioning. I think it's the fatigue. And I think it's, some of this is bureaucracy. Some of it is knowing that it's a bit of a paper tiger. So that's where you're at on it. We'll keep monitoring it. It's a hell of a report. I mean, they like they said, if you want to read all of it, Dellinger did an incredible job. It's 137 pages. Dellinger did an incredible job of reporting on this and getting this information. And so it's out there. It's everything that we thought they did. They caught him. Now the question is, what can they do about it? And that's the spot they're in next. Lots to get to on the program today. We'll ask Jake Trotter about this coming up at 10:30. Joshua Perry at 11:30 as well, reflecting on the magical Buckeye run. Coming up next, Jim Knowles introduced at Penn State. You will hear from him on that and how that is just the beginning of what we can expect to see in college football going forward in terms of the transient nature. We're off and running on a First Friday Miracle Edition. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
We're the girthiest radio station in the history of radio. Uncomfortably girthy. This promo is uncomfortable. The Fan, Ohio's girth destination.
Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
Next on Metro's Nada Yada Island podcast.
I almost fainted when the 4 new bombshells arrived. 4 free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G phones at Metro.
No way.
And finding out the 4th line is free. Oh, things got heated.
That's wild. Join Metro and get 4 free Samsung 5G phones. Only at Metro.
Plus tax. Bring 4 numbers and an ID and sign up for any Metro Flex plan. Not available currently at T-Mobile or been with Metro in the past 180 days.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, I remember you saying that a family business should reflect family values, that a customer deserves to be treated with kindness and compassion.
And those values will never change. The reputation you built for being fair and honest is our greatest asset.
In fact, in 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for ethics and named the Lennox Partner of the Year.
You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind. It's an honor to continue serving Central Ohio as a locally owned, family-run business.
So, whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just honest advice, Care is here for you.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Go beyond your field of study and get a world-class education in leadership. As an Army officer, you'll work side by side with peers who support your growth, and you'll become a role model, mentor, and decision maker in any environment, at any scale. It's a challenging path, but along the way you'll sharpen your skills and show yourself and those around you exactly what you're capable of. Decide to lead at goarmy.com/officer.
The Ohio State University Army ROTC. Buckeyes lead the way. Home values in Columbus are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market has peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for 2 things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Much like a vampire, we need to be invited into your house. But once we're in, we never leave. Listen to The Fan on your Alexa or Google Home smart speaker. Just say play 97.1 The Fan and prepare to be amazed. Do it now.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at a beautiful day today, lots of sunshine, highs in the low 40s. Yet again, it will be windy today. Winds could occasionally gust over 30 miles per hour. Clear and cold tonight, lows in the mid-20s. Increasing clouds on your Thursday, warmer with a high of 47. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Bobby Carpenter doesn't have a mullet, but he's knee-deep in mullet energy. Morning Juice with Bobby and Beamer.
Weekdays starting at 6.
The Fan. Our top men are working on everything except this show.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
One of the stories of the day, the Michigan response to the Stallion scandal and what will eventually come of that. A couple of comments from social. Brad with just thinking outside the box. Couldn't the other 17 Big Ten universities just vote to fine Michigan the next 3 years of their TV contract money? Well, he's right. I don't know if the Big Ten, I suppose the Big Ten institution could do whatever they want. Yeah, if you want your pound of flesh paid financially, yeah. That would be one of the things that you'd be able to do. You would be able to fine them. The NCAA would have the ability to fine them. Michigan could always do, which is a crazy thing. I mean, you can do it. You could just say, now we're good. I mean, that's kind of what Kansas basketball did. Kansas basketball was dead to rights, and Bill Self said, yeah, we're good. And there wasn't much. What did he sit out, like a game of the Bahamas, Reese, if I remember that right?
Yeah, it was nothing.
It's like 4 games at the start of a season was all he got hit with?
And this will likely go to a committee hearing, but I think there's like a preliminary meeting, like the pre-trial before the trial. And so all of this, has several layers to go through. But validation for Ryan Day's brother, who in the reporting is not the person who sent the tip. Oh, that call sounds like, at least from the NCAA, it came from inside the house.
Yeah.
And Michigan, in that 137-page response, seeks to identify that informant.
I could be speaking out of school, but I'm pretty sure we had John U. Bacon on when this first started percolating around a year ago. And him and Angelique Chingalis both said that there were plenty within the Michigan program who had very little patience for Harbaugh. And there was a booster, I remember, who they were...
Was it Uncle T or something?
Yeah.
Was his name?
He did not see eye to eye with Harbaugh on anything, but that was before Harbaugh won the national championship. So it could change on that front, but I remember that specifically from both of those. I mean, this thing has been so long. It's been so long that we've known about this. Remember, like, Harbaugh was suspended 8 games the year they won the title. Dude, I mean, he was hit during all of that stuff. So it's wild that how long it takes for this stuff to finally get prosecuted. Wolfman Matt, great man. What I want isn't quantifiable. I want to know precisely how big of an advantage Michigan got with this scheme. Problem is, we'll never know that. He's right. We won't. How big of an advantage did they get? Big enough that they went to so much trouble to hide all of this. I mean, that big. You saw the Netflix doc with Stallions and how chesty he was with the advantage that he had. It's a pretty brilliant scheme. It really is, to go to all of those places and do all of that in-person scouting. It's a brilliant scheme that he kind of orchestrated. But how big was the advantage? You're never going to know in totality. I think that's why, we don't need to go through all the old wounds again, but I think that's the 23 Ohio State-Michigan game was a painful one because there was no, at that point, they'd all been found. Like Stallions had been found. The sign stealing was done at that point. And that's the one that hurts. Because that was the one where you could have ruined everything for them.
And, Bo, for me personally, and I know I'm not everyone, for me, that's when the whole Michigan cheating thing went out the window to me. Like, I didn't care about it anymore because you had a chance to make it a point, prove it a point, and you couldn't shut them up. You couldn't beat them when they weren't. Now, who knows? Maybe there were remnants of that. If Ohio State kept signs the same, any of them, shame on them for that with all of that stuff out there because Ohio State knew more about that than even we did at that time. So shame on them. But that's when this became kind of a non-story to me. But I know everybody else cares about it, and it's still a big deal.
Yeah, I think you had your chance in 2023, and it didn't happen. And so, there's a devil-may-care attitude now from Harbaugh and all of them up there. So eventually there will be a punishment. I don't have the first clue what it could look like and how punitive it will be. Pocketbook always hurts and recruiting always hurts. So maybe they hit him with that. Sharon Moore acting like he had no patience for Connor Stallions and deleted it because he was going to hurt the rest of it is just absolutely comical. That side of it. That's why you deleted it, not because you're trying to hide information. What did Bielema do? Is he involved in this? I see this.
So he got on X yesterday and started finding old videos of Jim Harbaugh where Harbaugh talked about being honest and not lying and stuff that we've, hashed over the past couple of years where Harbaugh's like, you cheat and it's done. And I want my kids to be honest. And Bielema's a lot of trolling on old Bert. Really? Why did you leave? Was looking forward to playing, but I understand why you ran to the NFL. See you in the future and can't wait. Several videos with laughing, crying face emojis. So Brett having some fun on the X.
I want to believe in my heart of hearts that Brett Bielema runs his own X account.
Has to.
Probably.
I want that to be the truth.
I love
despite that, with all of the other things you got to do, that he's also still has time as a head coach, that he has time to run his own X account. I think the two coaches in college football, if I had to bet anything, actually run their two accounts are Bielema and Lane Kiffin. I think both of those guys run their own accounts.
I love that Bielema's back in the Big Ten, and I hope he gets Illinois to a spot where he kind of had Wisconsin, because sports is better with villains, and I think Burt would be the biggest villain if he got Illinois to a 10-2, 11-1 type season every year.
Yeah, there's just it's just a ceiling on how much damage he can do and how big of a villain he can be at Illinois. Like there's a hard ceiling on Illinois and what they can be, whereas at Wisconsin, it was a little bit of a higher ceiling that he could have attained. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be ranked next year to start the season in the preseason, so that's good, and they're going to get a little bit of love. But no, I'm all for all the Bielema that I can get on this side of things, and hopefully there's more and more of him all in the mix. This is also like the other thing that's happening now, and this is why I think it's hard to. I think it's going to be very difficult for the NCAA to thread the needle on this Michigan thing, and I've said this for the last couple of years in terms of how punitive it can be. This sport right now is unenforceable in every possible way. I mean, you had a safety from Wisconsin over the break who did not get in the portal and then just enrolled at Miami and said, I'm a Hurricane now, because Wisconsin was not going to grant him his release. Well, he's at the University of Miami now, and what are you going to do about it? The rules here are unenforceable, and I think there will only be more of that going forward. I think the other thing that you're going to have to start to get used to as a fan is the transient nature of this sport. We have in the last half decade seen coaches on this staff, both actual coaches and then also like support staff, go to Michigan. Like, this is our new world. We took a defensive coordinator from Michigan and hired him here. So we've done that too. Our defensive coordinator is now at State College in Happy Valley. So there's going to be this thing where this is going to become a very transient, it already has been, but it's something we're just going to take some getting used to in terms of new faces and new places, and you feel like you hire somebody and they're your guy for a long time, and then you wake up and they're coaching your rival. And we're going to have to deal that with Penn State this year with Jim Knowles. I can tell you the folks over there are thrilled that he's going over there. Nothing's still official yet, by the way, from Ohio State on the defensive coordinator. A lot of rumor out there about where they could go. Obviously, Guerreri was recruiting with Ryan yesterday, so connect those dots however you wish. But that's kind of where you are. Over the course of the next month, I want to ask you, we should put this on the poll. What are you more interested in? NCAA basketball or NBA basketball? You got to watch one on a nightly basis. And let's say, obviously when you have rooting interest, when it's Buckeyes or Reese with the Cavs, you're locked into that. But last night there was nothing. We didn't have a hockey game. We didn't have the locals involved. If you were looking for sports last night, what did you watch? No football games this weekend. What did you two watch?
So I did not watch any sports last night. If I was tuning in, though, it would have been college basketball in Kentucky, Tennessee. I just, it is hard for me to have any interest in the NBA. It really is. College basketball I can still get into, but the NBA I just have a hard time. It's a hard watch for me.
You're not alone. The ratings receding a little bit on that front. Go ahead, Reese. What did you watch, if anything?
No interest. Again, if it was sports, it was going to be the college hoop side. I was watching season 2 of The Night Agent on Netflix.
Who's in that?
I'd recommend. I don't know any of the actors.
The Night Agent?
The Night Agent, yeah.
Oh, is this the guy who has like the premise is like he has the button at the White House and he's overnight?
Yeah, that was the first season, and then he survives.
Then other
I don't want to
happen.
spoil it too much, but there's a second season, so obviously he lives. So I was watching that, but like tonight I'll watch Cavs Heat.
Yeah, I think the rooting interest makes it easy. I found myself. I watched Kentucky, Tennessee last night, and I watched a little bit of Kansas, UCF. I am definitely more drawn to the college side of things this time of year. There's you see the intensity to it. It's funny because in college sports, like we're doing this more than ever before. Like we're rooting for laundry. The teams are so transient. I watched Kentucky play in person last year. This is not that team. I don't even know if there's anybody left on this Kentucky team from last year's Kentucky team. I think they're all at Arkansas. We got one of them, but they're all everywhere else. So, like, it's a totally new roster and all of it. But there was some juice to that building, and you could feel it coming through the screen. Speaking of college basketball, Lenardi's most recent bracketology has the Buckeyes as a last four in, so has them in the tournament. Last four in would be Ohio State, Texas, North Carolina, and UCF. That was heading into yesterday's play. So they're there. They're right in the thick of it if they can go on a little run here. Go ahead, Vic.
And I believe Lenardi had Ohio State playing North Carolina in a playing game, so that would be exciting.
That would be a gorgeous uniform matchup as well, where you get kind of everything you want from that side of thing, especially if you wore the Jimmy J. Grays or the Clark Kellogg's. Either one would be a big win there. The Senior Bowl is going on down in Mobile, Alabama. The quarterback's getting a pretty good once-over yesterday. Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, met with some of the assembled media down there, had some comments about the Senior Bowl, about Myles Garrett, and about what he's looking for in the quarterback position. What should he be looking for in the quarterback position? That's coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ROCK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ROCK to 321321. That's ROCK to 321321.
Hey guys, Anthony Rothman here for Low T Center. Keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you lack energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy may be your answer. But all guys have different T levels, so don't settle for a standard dosage plan. Get a personalized treatment plan at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 credit when you refer a new patient. Book your appointment at lowtcenter.com. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
What's up? What's up, man? What's up with you?
All right, here's what's up on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Senior Bowl taking place down in Mobile, Alabama. The NFL is all there. The Cleveland Browns are well represented. General Manager Andrew Berry there, head coach Kevin Stefanski there. Jacques Césaire is on one of the coaching staffs, Bubba Ventrone on one of the other coaching staffs. So a very good look at what exactly they're seeing down there. A couple of quarterbacks to watch, Jalen Milroe in the mix, Jackson Dart in the mix down in the Senior Bowl as well. Both of the guys through. I know there's a lot of connections being drawn between the Browns and Milroe because of Tommy Rees. I would not draw those conclusions. And I don't think that Rees's promotion to offensive coordinator, it should be any sort of signal that Jalen Milroe is the quarterback of record in Cleveland. I just don't think philosophically he's a fit at all. Remember, they just hired Bill Musgrave to come on and coach quarterbacks. He is a student, certainly, of the West Coast and then eventually the Shanahan-Kubiak scheme. They're going all the way back to that. They're going back to the bread and butter, what got Stefanski hired to begin with. That is a quarterback who does not turn the ball over. That is a quarterback who turns his back to the defense, flips, and throws it. That takes accuracy. Milroe's not particularly accurate. It's kind of that simple. He's not. So I don't think he is a fit for what they're looking for at all. Jackson Dart is an interesting prospect. I think it'll be interesting for him how it's been tough for the Kiffin quarterbacks to make that transition. Remember, Matt Corral was a guy who kind of had some pro interest as well. That didn't work out. I'm curious to see what Dart does this week and if he can impress people at the combine as well. The headline from Andrew Berry's brief meeting with the media yesterday was this notion of they're not trading Myles Garrett. It's funny, the boys were watching last night and they're like, Dad, are the Browns trading Myles Garrett? And I'm like, no, they're not trading him. And he's like, well, what is this about? And I don't know what it was about because he talked about this in his postseason presser, that they're not trading Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett doesn't want to be traded. So I don't know why that continues to kind of percolate and perk up from time to time the way that it did yesterday. But there's no plan to move off of Myles Garrett. All of that being said, a critical draft. They have double-digit picks. They have 5 in the top 100. They need to hit on those. If you go through their roster, they need, I think it's fair to say, an entirely new quarterback room. They need a weapon in the backfield. They need a weapon at wide receiver, probably a number 2 wide receiver. Who knows, with Cedric Tillman had a concussion that he never came back from, and that's pretty alarming. So you need another weapon there. It's possible. I mean, they could certainly use another tackle. I don't think it's a priority. On the defensive side, you need defensive tackles. They could go end opposite Myles. I could see that happening. If JOK does not return, then they need an off-ball linebacker. And remember, he got hurt and never returned. And who knows what his NFL future can be. They need a corner, too, because MJ Emerson and Greg Newsome are both going into their walk year. So they need a lot on that roster in short order if they're going to turn this from a rebuild on the fly versus a tear down and start over. And we know that they want this to be the former, not the latter. Barry Stefanski down at the Senior Bowl. Andrew was asked what he's watching at the Senior Bowl. Here's what he had to say.
There are so many
prospects that are here down here in Mobile that for the live exposure, you're really just focused on a handful of guys. And they may be players that you didn't get a chance to go out and see live during the fall. They may be at priority positions. They may be guys that are from a small school that you want to see them against a high level of competition. So each practice I'll go into with maybe 5 or 6 guys that I really specifically want to focus on and really watch them throughout the day before going over the film in the evening.
All right. In terms of the quarterback, and remember, Barry, you're not going to get much out of them. Like, their answers are going to be pretty vanilla. There's not going to be much looking through it, looking for needles in a haystack. There is no haystack. They don't give you much there. Here is Barry, though, asked about what he looks for in a quarterback.
If the player can get you to 1st and 10, right? Quarterbacks make their money in 3rd down, gotta have it, 2-minute red zone situations, and can they get you to 1st and 10? And the way that, let's say, Peyton Manning used to do that is a lot different than maybe how Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson does it. And so for me, there's not a particular archetype or style of player, but one thing that is really important at the quarterback position is decision making. Like, that's a player who's going to make 50, 60, sometimes 70 decisions a game, that aren't necessarily all just pass plays, and they've got to be a sound decision maker. Obviously we have a bias towards guys who are accurate, who are naturally accurate with the football, but outside of those two things, whether they're runners, whether they're pocket guys, that type of thing, that doesn't matter as much as long as they can consistently get the team to 1st and 10.
So the one thing I think you can take from him, or anytime Stefanski talks, anything Tommy Rees talks, what they talk about first is processing accuracy. That's it. You have to be able to do that. If you do all the other things, bonus, but you have to be able to process quickly and you have to be able to be accurate. If you those two things, you got a chance, which is why I reject any notion that they shouldn't look into Shedeur Sanders. He processes really quickly. He's the most accurate quarterback in the history of college football. He completed 74% of his passes this year. The idea that they should not look into him or not consider him because of Coach Prime or whatever you think you're getting is nonsense. To me, Shedeur Sanders is the most similar to Caleb Williams of any of the. Now, I'm not saying he's that as a prospect, but in terms of his play style, really accurate. I think he got into some bad habits by playing on what was, for the most of his career at Colorado, a middling team. They got better this year, but I think he tried to make plays happen and extend plays where he probably shouldn't have, and there was probably some bad habits that you're going to have to coach out of, just that there were of Caleb Williams. I'm not saying he's got all of Caleb Williams' arm talent. I'm not saying that, but I think he's got 85% of it, and what he is for sure is accurate.
I think for both of the guys,
his head and he'll throw it.
At the top of the list here with Cam Ward and Shedeur, a lot of hero ball. You get into bad habits, but it was because you had to bail your teams out of a lot of situations because the talent just didn't equate opposite from your opponent. Barry said that he's confident Deion's going to be comfortable with his son. Quote, I don't anticipate that being a problem. So obviously you'll know and learn more the closer you get to April when you have the draft combine at the end of February. But yeah, the closer we get, I think, to this, the further I think everybody should get away from the notion that Deion would not allow his son to go 1 or 2 in the draft.
Don't buy that at all.
I think it sounds sillier the more you say it.
Here's the other thing for them, guys, and this is kind of common NFL thing, but just follow along with this exercise for a second. These are the 5 most important positions in NFL in the eyes of NFL front offices. Quarterback obviously is number 1, and that's a huge gap to the next 4, but quarterback's 1. Okay. Wide receiver, corner, defensive end, tackle. Pretty straightforward, right? What are all of those things? They're either people who create plays in the pass game or people who disrupt plays in the pass game. Now, in the last decade, the Browns have had the best left tackle of the last 25 years. And by the way, twice they've had probably the best offensive line consensus in football. It's netted them 1 playoff win. They've had the best defensive end on a short list, the best defensive end of the last 25 years. Very short list. Netted them 1 playoff win. Corner, Denzel Ward, you put him up against anybody. The rest of that secondary, you could put up the 3 of them, and even into the nickel situations, is among the best corners in the league. It netted them 1 playoff win. At wide receiver, they had Amari Cooper They've had Josh Gordon through the years, and when he was at his best, he was as good as anybody. Amari's been great. Jerry Jeudy was really good last year. What did it net him? So that gets back to number one. If you don't have that guy, what difference does it make on the rest of it?
In their one playoff win, whether it was going to work or not or whatever, was with Baker Mayfield, who they drafted number one overall. Bo, I will say this. I have a new favorite guy that I would love to see the Browns draft this year. Obviously not at number one. I don't know if you've paid attention to any of the Senior Bowl stuff, and they were actually they have Scott Pioli on the NFL Network right now, and he was talking about this player, Zane Grayable, Gray Zabel, excuse me.
Gray Zabel?
Gray Zabel. He is an offensive tackle from North Dakota State. He has been the rave of all the Senior Bowl stuff so far. His compete and footwork seems amazing. I love this kid.
Well, I'm not having the Browns take anybody who beat Montana State.
So that's you just crushed my hopes.
It's just a no.
You just crushed
it's
my
going to be a
hopes.
no from him.
Nope, not having it. I'm not going to support that.
Sure, you can take him at 33. For the
I just
Browns.
don't think. I don't think, fellas. I don't think they're taking a tackle anywhere. I think not in the top. To me, they need to draft quarterback once, maybe twice, and then beyond that, they need weapons. You have got to have somebody opposite Jerry Jeudy. You have got to score the football. The rest of it, you got to figure out. But you have to put all of your eggs into the scoring the football basket, whatever that is. So and by the way, if you think it's Travis Hunter and you're going to play him at wide receiver and you think he can be some form of Tyreek Hill, which it seems like I saw Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper both lean towards him at receiver versus corner, which surprised me a little bit. So maybe they view his playmaking ability big there. I would not take him at 2, like Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. I'd trade back and let somebody come up to get a quarterback. I would not take him at 2, but you need weapons in a big, big way.
To your point on that, 20 years ago, nobody would have him at receiver. They'd have him at corner because all those guys, corner was a more important position then, but in today's football, wide receiver is more important.
Yes, you have got to be able to. And by the way, I think you could see a running back for them in the second round, in the third round. They need weapons. You need weapons, and you need quarterback play. So these are big needs and a monster offseason for them. It's a monster offseason for the Bengals as well. Al Golden was introduced as the new defensive coordinator down there. He will have a job to do in a very, very big way as Cincinnati goes into a monster offseason. We'll get into that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Wake up with the Fan. Eat lunch with the Fan. Go to bed with the Fan. Dream about the Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
At Pella, we use the newest technology to show you exactly how new windows would look on your home.
Well, we keep it simple at our window place. We use a number 2 pencil to draw what your house will look like with our new windows. See?
Oh yeah, that definitely looks like a number 2.
Thank you, Leslie. Wait, I see what you did there.
Get the windows that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
That's are us. When dreams don't get in, that's are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
That's are us. When dreams don't get in, that's are us.
I'm Rick Reichert. Reichert Ford just wrapped up one of our biggest sales years in our history. So we're celebrating with the January kickoff sales event. And we're dealing. Lease a new 2024 hybrid F-150 for just $599 a month for 36 months. 0 down. Or lease your 2024 Bronco Sport for just $399 a month for 36 months. Also, 0 down. One of the largest Ford inventories in America. Over 1,000 new Fords on the ground and on the way. And it's all on sale. Plus, don't miss our 0 down programs. Available now. No other dealer in Columbus, in Ohio, or the entire country is dealing like this, period. So let's make 2025 another great year. Start with Reichert Ford's January kickoff sales event at the largest volume Ford dealer in Ohio at Route 33 and Hamilton Road, 2 minutes off 270, and at ReichertFord.com. Based on 2024 Ford report for total new retail sales, Cincinnati region. Leases on approved credit. No security deposit required. Ends 2-3. Come in now.
Get the right car at
Riker. We're dealing.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Guess what? Our ugly faces are on YouTube. Search 971 The Fan and watch all your favorite shows. Laptop, phone, tablet, smart TV, we're everywhere. Bring us in the bedroom with you. Yes, The Fan.
Want to have more fun watching the NBA? Try playing daily fantasy basketball on Sleeper Picks. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users just have to play $5 to get $55 in free entries. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code COURT and get $55 in free entries when you play $5. That's code COURT. Must be at least 18 years old. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit, $25. See terms of use for details. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help.
A Progressive Home and Auto Bundle can protect you round the clock, but we can't protect you from those painful moments in sports.
Why would we trade our best player?
Well, at least you got to watch him in person when he was here.
I named my only son after him.
So you'll always remember his name.
Yeah, but what do I do with this jersey?
Luckily, the company has a great return policy.
I wore it for 6 seasons.
Well, at least your home and auto are protected with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Weston Air Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
If you love a good pie analogy,
think of the cap as a pie, and once you take out one piece, there's less left for the next guy.
Then this is the radio show for you. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Look, when you have a Triple Crown winner at wide receiver, you have someone that you could argue had the greatest passing season in the history of the franchise, and certainly one worthy of being Offensive Player of the Year, and you have the likely Defensive Player of the Year, and you miss the postseason, someone's got to fall for that. Now, my view would be that it was probably somebody in the front office who thought that they had enough defensive talent that they could just plug and play and not have a step back. That would be my guess on the root of the problems. They went another way down in Cincinnati, and they relieved Lou Anarumo of his job. In his place steps Al Golden. He was introduced earlier this week and was asked why this job was attractive to him.
The familiarity, the comfort level, the fact that I enjoyed so thoroughly my last time here with the Brown family and working with Zach, and the familiarity with everybody on the staff, and obviously knowing exactly what Coach wants from an organization, from a culture, and being confident that I can give him what he needs.
You know, schematically, what are the differences between the NFL and college? Here is Golden on that.
I think it's closer now than it was a decade ago, for sure. Just certainly with the RPO, or, just watching yesterday with the quarterback run game, the read zone series, or just the design quarterback run. So I think there's a lot of carryover there. I think I was blessed to be around guys that were, they had their house in order. They just wanted to learn ball. The really smart team, really high FBI, football intelligence. That kind of background allowed us to push him and coach him in a way that was very much similar to what we experienced here or in Detroit when I was there. So, and I think that's really important because the biggest thing for us is just, it's not so much we're going to do X, Y, and Z. It's the belief system that everybody involved believes the same thing, that the secondary believes the same thing as the linebackers believe the same thing as the D-line. And when you get that, unit strength, and you're bound by certain fundamentals or techniques or concepts, great things can happen. And obviously that's what we want to do here.
Do the Bengals side of it briefly, and then I want to get into the Notre Dame side of it as well, as he leaves a pretty nice spot in South Bend. I don't think that Lou Anarumo was the problem in Cincinnati. So I'm sure Al is nice. I know obviously he knows what he's doing, but I thought Lou Anarumo knew what he was doing. So I don't think it's that all of a sudden Lou Anarumo forgot how to coach. I think somebody had to fall for a disappointing season, so he was the one because of the way that the defense started. For Cincinnati this offseason, you want to talk about pressure? Now, I don't know if it's pressure like in Cleveland from the standpoint of like, boy, you guys better get this thing right or this can really be set back and much of the program and operational momentum over the last half decade will be lost. I don't know if it's that because I don't know that Mike Brown and his pie are willing to start to fire people left and right. But you have a franchise quarterback. You've missed the postseason the last 2 years. 2 years ago because of injury, but this year there was no injury, and you blew it, boy. And so, to me, this is all on Zach Taylor this year to get this thing right, and it should be on Duke Tobin in that front office to make sure that they have what they did with Higgins. Higgins can't walk for free. They got to find a way somehow, some way, and I know they keep saying they're confident that he's coming back. You do the math on it, it's hard to imagine a scenario where he is. Think of all the teams that need receivers. The New England Patriots have boatloads of cash and cap space and need a number one for their young quarterback. That's a place that will call T. Higgins. Like, how could Cincinnati possibly keep all this guys together? I think it's a critical offseason for them.
And they've also got a contract to deal with Trey Hendrickson, who just led the NFL in sacks. And, I think back to, like, Jesse Bates, when he had one of his best seasons in the NFL, they sent him away. Or they didn't bring him back. And it's like, guys, at some point, and that's where, for me, it falls a lot on Duke Tobin and that front office. It's like there's a pie, but you got to figure out how to make this pie work. Because if you're giving a guy like Lou Anarumo less quality players to deal with, and then if every season you're worried about losing your best player and you've got a reestablished guys defensively, then how can you reasonably expect success?
And this kind of sounds like almost the same conversations we were having with the Bengals last offseason, and the fact that
it's like every year you have this at some point.
Yeah.
When are we done with it?
Let's get Jamar Chase signed. Well, you waited too long. Now it's going to cost you more. Let's find a resolution to the T. Higgins situation, whether that be getting him under contract or trading him for assets that can help you. It is, it seems crazy. And you also have to wonder now, like with this T. Higgins stuff, how does that affect Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and their mentality with everything moving forward?
So they have $46 million in cap space right now, but the way that their roster is split up financially, $132 million of it is spent on the offense, $98 million is spent on the defense. This is where the Brown family, and I know Bengals fans want to throw stuff at the wall when they hear this, but like, are they as cash poor as they lead out, as they make it seem? Or can they start converting some of these contracts and renegotiating some of these contracts into signing bonuses and restructures the way that the Browns do up in Cleveland with that ownership? That's really what this will come down to, because there isn't enough in the pie as currently constructed. There isn't to pay for Higgins and Hendrickson and all this.
Does feel like owners are always going to cry poor. The Bengals also need to hit on defensive front, or if they want to draft offensive, linemen, like those need to be hits.
Yes.
Especially, so that's where I would say, like, Zach Taylor or Duke Tobin. I guess I would say Duke Tobin more so, because I don't know if – I feel like Taylor's kind of reached his ceiling. He's just got one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation, and that raises everything.
This is the difference between Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Cleveland. Baltimore and Pittsburgh hit on their picks. They have for 2 decades. They find second-rounders, third-rounders who become stars. That's the job. You have to hit on picks, and those two operations do. Cincinnati largely has. The Browns have gotten a lot better at it, but this is a monster offseason for both of those teams. Let's do the Notre Dame side of it really quick. Al Golden was asked if it was tough leaving Notre Dame. Here's what he had to say.
If I could take a minute just to thank, Coach Freeman, all the student athletes up there that had the honor of coaching, and obviously both Pete Bavacqua and Jack Swarbrick for the opportunity to be there and be a part of that great run. And it's very seldom that you have a chance to do first at Notre Dame, but to host the first playoff game, to win the Orange Bowl, win the Sugar Bowl, win 13 in a row, that was great. So, we made the decision last Wednesday to come. I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to all the players. That doesn't always happen that way, but Coach Freeman encouraged it, man. I tried to reach every player I could. Those that I didn't see personally, I communicated to. I thought that was important. I got in the car at 5 a.m. on Thursday, and when I made that right off I-74 and saw the stadium, and I knew I was home.
That's a pretty big job out of Marcus, saying, hey, go talk to your guys, like giving him that opportunity. That doesn't happen very often. Feels like everything Marcus touches turns to gold when it comes to coaching. Like his sense of how to handle these things are A+. It does seem like Chris Ash is leaning towards the guy up there. That's kind of the one name that's consistently linked to Notre Dame, is that former Buckeye defensive coordinator Chris Ash will end up being the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. As for this Buckeye roster, as we start to head into the offseason, the portal is closed. What questions remain out there here over the next month? Signing day is a week from today. Not much left out there to sign. It used to be a national holiday for me almost, not so much anymore. Take a look at who needs to step up, what positions need to be buoyed, and what we need to pay attention to over the next month as we get set for spring football. We'll get into that conversation coming up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
The two most mature people working at the radio station. And that's just because they wear pants.
The pervert and the skivvies.
Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays at noon.
The Fan. Get Eco.
ECO.
Aaron, look what I invented.
Jerry, you're wearing a cape.
Get Eco.
ECO.
What is it that you promise our customers, Aaron?
We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Do you know who does that, Aaron?
We do?
Superheroes do that, Aaron.
Superheroes! I'm guessing you make capes for everyone?
That's right. Every plumber, electrician, and HVAC technician. But I'm not done, Aaron. I'm not done.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Now I'm inventing jetpacks so we can fly to the rescue like proper superheroes. Now say your line again.
We come through for you when you need us to?
No, say it like this. We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Jerry.
Yeah, Aaron?
How about we put those capes in the closet until you get the jetpacks perfected?
We'll look right when we take flight.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
Home values in Columbus are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market has peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for two things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text GRIT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text GRIT to 42424. That's GRIT to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. Super Bowl 59 is Sunday, February 9th in New Orleans. The Chiefs are 1.5 favorites over the Eagles. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Kansas City looks for the first Super Bowl three-peat in history. Philadelphia offensive coordinator Kevin Kellenmore is reportedly the favorite to land the New Orleans Saints head coaching vacancy. Former Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy removed his name from consideration on Tuesday. Saints the only team in the league without a head coach. In college football, Michigan says they will not settle with the NCAA in their ongoing sign-stealing investigation. The university sent a 137-page response to the NCAA's notice of allegations, denying involvement by head coaches, and they seek the identity of the person who tipped the NCAA off to the scheme. That person's reportedly connected to Michigan and not related to Ryan Day. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
If you say something with enough confidence, it must be true. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, second hour here on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Still time to get your Hey Guys questions into the fellas via the YouTube chat, which we monitor very closely. The two fellas on that. Also be able to do so on the X platform at 971BFS, and we will answer those coming up here in 1 hour from now. I have the worst feeling that all of my technology stuff is going to crash at once. We were having my wife and I have a conversation last night in our down in the basement television. It's just not firing the way that it should. And she's like, well, this is, you remember, we built the house in 15. I mean, we're talking about a 10-year-old TV now. And I went, oh, God. And then it started to occur to me, my phone is around 10 years old. My laptop is around 10 years old. It's all going to go at once. Like, it's coming. And I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know how I got on this schedule where all of these things are going to start to happen at the same time, but that's where we are. And I'm not looking forward to it. And the reason I bring this up now is right now as we're doing the show, the MacBook Air that I've had for now nearly a decade I can feel it. I can feel it. It's just not spinning, not the way I need to. A lot of little spinners. It's not it. It's probably well past its life expectancy, though, to be fair. So I probably drove it all the way into the ground, as it were.
That is the absolute worst. But when I was up in Canton for the state football championships, and my last phone that I had, I absolutely hated it, but it was paid for, so I just kept dealing with it.
Yeah.
But it went kaput when I was up there on the Saturday of the state championships, and I had to come back and get a new phone that following Sunday, which I'm so happy that I have this new phone now. But it is the worst, and that feeling that we have now of almost helplessness when you aren't connected because we're so used to it is insane.
Yeah. Fact. We have they're going to Amy and some of the other moms are going to attempt to do a 7th grade dance for I guess there's some sort of middle school dance, and I'm like, in 7th grade that was a big deal. You get a little 7th grade dance, so that's a big win. That's kind of your first, well, for me it wasn't the first, but for some it was first contact with the opposite sex, and away you go. And they're very behind on all of these things, as I've told them many, many times. And I said, she's like, yeah, we're going to try to do a dance, and we're going to do a little pre-party. And I said, well, that's great, but I said my recommendation would be, unless you want the boys to just stand in the corner and stare at their phones, that you treat it like a Derek Jeter party. And you just confiscate phones as soon as they walk in the door. If you do that, you might have a chance of normal social interaction, or what we would consider normal social action. If you do not do that, then you will not. And they'll just stay.
Anybody still have the physical button on your iPhone in the middle?
I don't have that.
I still have mine.
Do you still have the actual button?
Still kicking.
See? Who wants to get rid of that?
I don't. I don't ever want to change my devices. I see when
hate it.
They come out every year and people are waiting in line to go get the newest iPhone or Apple Watch. I'm like, no, I'm good.
I'm good. Just keep functioning.
My watch has a crack in it, and so I'm like, until I get glass shards in my finger, then I'll change it out. Yep.
This Buckeye roster is far from broken. It's pretty good. But, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday when we did The Real Truth on if the Buckeyes should be preseason number one. And I said, no, I don't think that they should. I think there's a lot of things that have to be proven on this roster. We still don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but in terms of roster breakdown, and you think about what needs to happen in spring football, the short answer is a lot. If you go position group by position group across this roster and you grade it on several scales. Number one, talent. Most of the time, the talent is going to be an A talent because that's the way they've recruited, that's the way they've developed. On an experience level, though, I'm guessing you'll see a lot of C's. There's going to be a lot of new faces in big-time spots on this offense. And then the other thing is what type of quarterback is Julian Sayin, and do they have the type of running backs the way that they had last year where they could really lean on that part of the game when you needed to? The answer is you will not. I think C.J. Donaldson might end up being fine. James People I liked a lot in the short. Let's start there at running back. Here's what we know we won't have. You're not going to have two NFL backs, and that's what you had last year. You had Travion Henderson, you had Quinshon Judkins, and they're both going to be in the NFL. I think both of them could make an immediate impact in the NFL in what is a very good running back class. Donaldson's not that. Peoples may get to that, but he's not that right now. And even the guys coming in, whether it's Turbo Rogers or you mentioned Bo Jackson, the kid from Northeast Ohio, Bake, this is if you look at this offense, and we'll get to quarterback in a second, this is the one spot where you're going to have to see it. Because it's not going to be at wide receiver where it's an A across the board. This is the best receiving core in the country. They kept Carnell Tate. So they have the best receiver in the country in Jeremiah Smith, a top 10 receiver in the country in Carnell Tate. They have Brandon Ennis, who was the number one recruit in the country coming out of high school, or number one receiver recruit in the country coming out of high school. He is now a junior. We've seen him on special teams. You feel there's more to him. They have a really good class coming in. They've got a ton of talent behind them. Receiver is an A across the board. It's an AA plus across the board. The interior of the offensive line is an A across the board. Talent, experience, all of it looks really good there. Luke Montgomery was amazing when called upon. Hinsman, Shabola, there's a lot to like there. Tackles are going to be two new guys. But I trust what they've done in terms of recruiting and what they hit with the portal there. I think tight end is pretty good with Max Clare coming in from Purdue. That adds up. But when you start to look at signal caller and you start to look at running back, then you say, okay, massive talent, wildly unproven. Wildly. I'm trying to think of the last time. I suppose it would have been C.J. Stroud's redshirt freshman year where he won the job over McCord in spring and then eventually in camp when he was eventually named the starter. That's kind of where we are with Julian Sayin, Lincoln Keenholz, and the true freshman Tavian St. Clair. That will be, we all anticipate it being Sayin, but obviously Keenholz is still here, so he's been giving certainly some credit to say, hey, this thing's wide open, go win it if you can win it. And then St. Clair is, depending on what metric you look at, the number one quarterback in the country coming in, but it's a big leap to go from Bell Fountain to Ohio State. So the notion that he would be able to come in right away seems impossible to wrap your head around. Let's stay there for a second. Sayin, Keenholz, St. Clair, I do think, guys, that they will want to add a veteran to this mix. I don't think they're done here.
No, I think in the spring transfer portal, you're going to see something like a journeyman quarterback pop out and be a guy that can be a number 2 or a 3, but having played a lot of football. Because there's, guys, while the 3 of them, even St. Clair, were along with Ohio State on this playoff run.
Yeah.
In situational football, it's these guys just don't have a ton of experience. They got all the talent in the world. It's why they're in Ohio State's quarterback room. But to have an adult in the room at that position, I think is going to be important. Like a Tristan Gebbia pops to mind.
Yeah, that's the name, right? One of those type of guys, Beck.
Yeah, they've got to add somebody in that room with some experience that has played on the field, and I know that's very hard to do right now. The kind of guy they really need is like a Devin Brown, quite frankly, although Devin didn't have a ton of experience on the field, but definitely understand why he's gone. I will say this, Bo, and I love what I've seen from Sayin and Keenholz. Tavir Posey says that he thinks Tavian St. Clair can come in here and take this job. He says from seeing him in person that the kid just has that bounce. and he loves his athletic traits. I think that's asking a whole lot. And I was seeing some videos from last year, some 7-on-7s with Julian Sayin throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith. That combo looked pretty good.
Jaden Rashada is still in the portal.
He's probably not the fit. Yeah, I would just say with Tavian, like, I can't imagine any scenario where you hand the keys to this football Ferrari to a kid who's playing high school football last year. I don't sense that. I think they know. I think, look, everybody, you can't fool the room. And the whispers that you're hearing about saying are whispers that became, murmurs and then roars as we went through spring and went through camp last year. I mean, there was just a consistent, like, way to get a load of this kid. This is kind of everything that they kind of been hoping for. And I know Ryan likes Keenholz too, so I'm sure that's going to be a wide open competition. They'll have St. Clair compete. They'll obviously bring in a veteran beyond that. But it's Sayan's job to lose. I do think that's kind of the perception of what he has earned since he's been here. Running back is, you need a dude. They need a dude here. Now, I liked what I saw of Peoples, but it's one thing to go from being like the number 3 guy to bell cow. And Donaldson's a big power back. He's not an every down guy, not for the way they played offensive football last year. So this is a lot on James Peoples. I can't speak to, Bo Jackson was a really good high school player in the state of Ohio. Turbo Rogers is in that mix too. But this is a major step back from Judkins and Henderson.
Isaiah West is another freshman coming in, running back that they really like as well. I think
they're all young, though, man, and there's nobody proven.
I think an interesting name to watch here, and we kind of forgot about him, is T.C. Caffey. We know he got hurt last year in spring ball and missed the whole year, or in camp and missed the whole year. But he's a guy that when he's gotten on the field has showed flashes, worked his way up into becoming a scholarship player. And he's a guy we've kind of forgot about in that room, but experienced, been in the system, and has popped when he's had a chance.
And can any of them block nearly as well as Travion and Quinshawn could? I think that's where you're going to see the biggest that's for me the biggest question mark for any of these running backs with a quarterback who's going to be as inexperienced as the one Ohio State will trot out there against Texas.
Yeah, that opener is going to be absolutely nuts.
Do all the running backs that you and Baker just mentioned all have talent? Of course they have talent. That's why they're at Ohio State. But can they do those little things like sending guys into the Earth's core when your quarterback's in the pocket?
We've also gone from like Zeke to JK to Trey. Like that's some injuries
how they got Judkins is wild.
And then him popping in, I mean, it's just an absurd amount of embarrassment of riches. We'll take a look at the defensive side. And our buddy Bill Connolly predicts next year's college football bracket. Where does he see the Buckeyes in that bracket? We'll get to that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We're known for 3 things: games, conversation, and common man yelling about things only he cares about. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
I wish I'd gotten treated for my erectile dysfunction sooner. Men, I hear this all the time from our patients. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, and if ED is a problem in your life, resolve to get it treated today and stop having it affect you and the one you love. ED is simply a medical condition, and it's fully treatable. And at Tri-State Men's Health, we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases, which means if you're like most guys, your ED will be a thing of the past. In fact, you could be having great sex within a day or 2 of your first appointment, and you'll likely find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. It's the new year. Resolve to get your ED treated and change your life. Call us at Tri-State Men's Health. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. That's tristatemenshealth.com. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
Giant Eagle is making it easy to surround yourself with the sound of freshness. With new low prices on hundreds of your favorite produce items, so you save on all the crunch, all the flavor, all the just-picked goodness you love. Surround yourself with savings every time you shop with new low prices on apples, carrots, lettuce, celery, and more. Enjoy fresh savings on fresh produce at your neighborhood Giant Eagle.
Everyone deserves a fast and reliable connection, one that helps better their everyday through the things they value most: friends and family, education and career. A connection that opens pathways to opportunity and builds roads to a better future. At Spectrum, we're committed to delivering just that every single day. Because with the right connection, anything is possible. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Aaron, look what I invented.
Jerry, you're wearing a cape.
Get Eco.
ECO.
What is it that you promise our customers, Aaron?
We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Do you know who does that, Aaron?
We do?
Superheroes do that, Aaron. Superheroes!
I'm guessing you make capes for everyone?
That's right. Every plumber, electrician, and HVAC technician. But I'm not done, Aaron. I'm not done.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Now I'm inventing jetpacks so we can fly to the rescue like proper superheroes. Now say your line again.
We come through for you when you need us to?
No, say it like this. We come through for you when you need us to.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Jerry.
Yeah, Aaron?
How about we put those capes in the closet until you get the jetpacks perfected?
We'll look right when we take flight.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
There's nothing like having Common Man and T-Bone resting on your bosom.
Oh, for someone with no breasts, you've done very well for yourself.
Gross. Pick up the latest T-shirt in the fan store or pick up merch from a show you actually like. We even have Ohio State and jacket stuff. Head to 971thefan.com.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Sometimes the best time to prune trees is when they're dormant or with no leaves on them. For ISA certified arborists, it helps them see what branches may need to be pruned or removed. Dormant season pruning can also help lessen problems associated with insects and diseases and help create structurally stronger trees that can better handle heavy wet snows or ice buildup. Contact an ISA certified arborist to get the best professional advice on keeping your trees healthy and safe. Go to treesforohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at a beautiful day today, don't take the sunshine for granted because the clouds are back tomorrow. Today's high 43, tonight's low 25. Heading into Thursday, increasing clouds, high 47. Rain comes in Thursday night. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
If you don't like listening to Morning Juice, Bobby Carpenter's man nipples will punch you in the face. For real.
You want to fight, do you? Weekdays from 6 to 9.
The Fan. With friends like these, who needs former college football players? This is Bishop and Friends.
And as always, we are abundantly proud to be sponsored by our great friends at Diamond Cellar, your true jeweler for over 75 years. We'll get into what Bill Connolly has in his playoff predictions momentarily. I want to quickly go over the Buckeye defense just to kind of look at that position group by position group in terms of where it's at. Obviously, replacing both guys up front, some new guys in the middle as well. It's funny, though, to me, a ton of talent here. Now, some of the depth that you thought you would have with Hero Canoe, he's gone. He's going to Texas. That became official here in the last hour. But in terms of the names, they are guys we've been waiting for a long time. And you think about Curry and Jackson and some of the depth that they have in that room. I think that defensive front will be fine. There's guys who wait a long time to play in that defensive front as well. I think Three's linebackers are going to be lights out. The return of Sonny Styles, I don't know if anybody thought that was going to necessarily happen. The fact that it did, and you can just pop him right there, he's got a chance to be one of the best off-ball linebackers in all the country next year. Arvell Reese seems to be kind of the front runner in the middle. They still have C.J. Hicks. I know James is high on Peyton Pierce, kid out of Texas they like, and then Riley Pettijohn, the five-star kid out of Texas in this year's class, is in the mix as well. Corner, you get a little bit of a bump with IGB coming back, so he returns. There are names that you like there too in terms of the guys there. At safety, you're elite. I mean, you got the best defensive player in the country, Caleb Downs. So whoever coordinates this defense, you're going to have an abundance of talent to work with and a bunch of names that we've heard about for a long time who are going to be thrust into new roles. Now you're replacing a ton. Ransom, Burke, Simon, Tuamoloau, Williams, Hamilton, Sawyer, so many guys that are no longer in the mix. But they've recruited really well here, and they're going to get guys who are hungry, I would think, across the board. And I think the return of Styles is a monster. I don't know that they thought that was going to happen 2 months ago.
Bo, I'm worried about the safety position a little bit. Not Caleb Downs, and it depends on what defensive coordinator you get in here. And obviously, you've got the returners with Lorenzo Styles Jr. and then the freshman from this year, Miles Lockhart, hopefully in that nickel spot. But Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford, we've seen them a little bit. Yeah. That safety spot isn't real deep. Behind them, you've got Keenan Nelson Jr., who transferred in last year from South Carolina, and then a couple of freshmen in Fahim Delane and Cody Hadid that are coming in. But I'm worried about the depth at safety position. Not Caleb Downs. He's fine, but it's just outside of him, there's not a lot of proven ability on the field.
Let's do an audio. Get the MIT kids do an audio grab of Bake saying Caleb Downs is fine. He's fine, Caleb Downs.
He's an all right piece to have.
He's fine. It's fine to have him. Your point is well taken. Yeah, there's some depth questions for sure there. A freshman that I know, speaking to folks down in the Houston area, who a lot of people think could come in and go right away, is Devin Sanchez. He is a monster. Was a monster recruit, is an incredible talent. And talking to a buddy of mine down in the Houston area who pays a little bit of attention to some of the recruiting down there and the players down there, and that's where he's from, he said, that dude's got a chance. So the moral of this story and the reason for this exercise was to buoy the conversation we had yesterday around the notion of number one in the country too soon. I understand the Ric Flair nature of this. To be the man, you got to beat the man. I get it. I think it's fine. That's not how I ever did a poll, but I understand why people do it that way. I just think that there is a ton of question marks on this roster. Talented question marks, but question marks nonetheless. And if I had to look at one where I'm like, the only position I can look at here and go, I just don't know if there's enough game-breaking talent in this room, and it's just because we haven't seen it, to me it's running back. There's nothing else that I look at this and I think these guys aren't ready to go. I think you make some good points on the secondary and the safety especially, but the three guys that they have are good. And they need some young guys to step up. But at running back, I just don't – it's such a big step back from Travion and Q in terms of what we know and have seen of those two guys to the stable of backs that are there now.
So with the defense, I was going to say, that's what all the booms are for, though, right? Like, you get the talent, and then you trust in your coaching staff to be able to mold it. I think, your questions about the experience of really all of these guys, I mean – the four teams that you're looking at to win the Big Ten next year, I think have similar questions, not in the same spots, but in spots that are just as important. On all four of the rosters, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, and Penn State, like there are serious questions at a lot of important positions. Now, of those four that I just mentioned, one's got the quarterback thing figured out, but I do think that's why Ohio State, and obviously winning the national championship, returning Jeremiah Smith's a huge part of it. But I think that's one of the reasons why people sit there and say, Ohio State can repeat. They can win the Big Ten, because there are those amongst the other contenders as well. Those questions of, well, they got talent. Sure, they're always going to have talent. They always recruit the best. They're always fighting each other, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, for the best talent. But now what do they do when they actually get involved in a game?
Well, I'm going to take it a step further. You go to this Bill Connolly college football bracket that we're going to talk about right now. Who doesn't have questions? Folks, you thought we said this year that was pretty consistent. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Georgia, Bama, maybe the next one. Those four teams had more talent than everybody else. I don't know who the answer to that is this year. His top four seeds predicting next year, and he went with the same, the power conference, highest ranked, they get the buys. His top four next year, way too early. Georgia 1, Penn State 2, Utah 3, Louisville 4. Utah, Louisville, and Georgia are all going to have new quarterbacks. Fact. And he's got them getting buys. Penn State's the only team that returns their quarterback. So now go to their first-round matchups. He's got Boise State at Alabama. Alabama is going to have a new quarterback. It'll be Ty Simpson. Likely will be the guy there, but it's not Jalen Milroe. In the 6-11 game, he's got North Carolina, so he's having a little fun there. North Carolina as the 11 seed at Texas. He writes, what am I supposed to do? Not set up Belichick versus Manning? Winner gets Utah, he writes. Texas has a new quarterback, but it's one that we've seen and we know is very, very good. Carolina is starting over, obviously. Continue down the list. LSU at Notre Dame. Nussmeier returns at LSU. Notre Dame, is it Angeli? Is it Lloyd Carr's grandson? Someone there is going to have to step up. But that's another new quarterback situation. And then he does the unthinkable, and he goes number 9 Ohio State at number 8 Michigan. New quarterbacks for both. That tells you where you're at with this thing. This is going to be a wide open year, and the work done towards this is being done now. It's being done in recruiting. It's being done starting next month in off-season and conditioning. It's going to be done in spring. It'll be a big question for Ryan Day and any of the coaches who played at, you think about Texas, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State. How do you manage your veterans? How much of that, how do they participate in spring? What does that look like when you're talking about a 16-game season for these teams? So a ton of questions with that, but I think you're headed for a wide open year in college football. Are there any futures that you guys like in terms of you should maybe jump on in terms of national championship? What jumps out?
I think you go down the list, and I think you look at Clemson at 20-1.
I like that.
I don't think
too.
that's bad odds with the coaching staff and a quarterback in Cade Klubnik, who really had a good year this year. We didn't really talk about him a lot returning as well. I think that that's worth a little squeeze there.
Your ponies at plus 7,500 if the stars can align for SMU, and I mean they win the ACC, they get the first round bye, and then you get a similarly favorable college football playoff path. Yeah, if you put them in the title game, who says that can't happen?
You're looking for, I'm looking for value. Where's their value here? I like the Clemson pick at 20-1. I don't hate Miami at 30-1.
Oh, is the U back? Could this be the year?
If Beck's surgery goes well, that's a quarterback who a year ago at this time we would have said, if you're betting anybody going number 1 overall, that's the one you'd bet. And he's back. So, you're 30-1, so it's way out there. But at the same time, that could be some soft earned. I like Clemson. SMU, that was just such a punch in the face what happened to them in that game at Penn State. There's nobody else down this list that I look at and looks intriguing to me in terms of some soft earned. Go ahead, Bick.
I know Alabama, there's questions there, but they always have a top 5 roster at least. Yes. And 13-1, that's not bad value on them.
No, that's a good one. I like that one too. At the Buckeyes, the favorite, plus 450, then Texas plus on ESPN bet, Texas plus 500, then Georgia, Penn State, Oregon, Notre Dame, and then you get into Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson. There's some ones out there where you might be able to make a little hay, but I think the reality is unlike last year, and I could say we said it a lot, there's 3 or 4. If I give you these 4 of the field, most would have taken those 4. This year, I don't know what the 4 is, and I think the field is large. I think there's a long way down. I mean, I think you can go 12, 13 teams down the list and say all of these teams can be in the mix for this thing. So I think this offseason is going to be absolutely fascinating. For some perspective on the offseason and the season we just had, our buddy Jake Trotter covers college football at ESPN, joins us in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Looking to sell your home? Don't pay 6% commission. Call my guys at Sell for 1% Realtors. They're full service, not a do-it-yourself kind of thing. On average, customers save over $10,000. Give them a call, 614-451-6616. That's 451-6616.
Celebrate women in sports. Join Ohio State women's basketball on Sunday, February 2nd for a special Women in Sports and Alumni Night. The Buckeyes take on Washington at the Shop. Be a part of this great evening and get your tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Hey, it's Anthony. I got to tell you, when you don't have the support you need, it affects everything. feet, knees, hips, back, even your mood. I finally went to the Good Feet store, and once I was personally fitted for my arch supports, I felt a ton better. I will never wear another pair of shoes again without sliding in my personally fit Good Feet arch supports. That's because they help me eliminate my foot pain. It's such a good feeling knowing that I can be on my feet and not worrying about I'm going to wake up with low back pain or feel a weakness somewhere. I trust the Good Feet store because for more than 30 years, they've helped thousands of people just like me get back to feeling comfort on a daily basis. They take pleasure in that, and it's their personal 3-step system designed to support, balance, and strengthen your feet that guides them into their ideal position. I'm the proof. I wear them every day, even when I'm biking at the gym. So go in, take the free test walk at the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway and on Stringtown Road in Grove City or goodfeet.com.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Let me introduce you to a man with a magnificent salt and pepper beard. A man who's currently roasting lamb on a spit. A man who runs the Rocky River Greek Festival. That man is Jake Trotter.
Indeed it is, and he joins on the Brian Heating Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. All right, buddy, let's start here. As the season is now in the rearview mirror, we've celebrated, we've had gatherings, banners will go up, and all of those things. When you look to this offseason, the portal now closed. National Signing Day is next Wednesday, but that's not what it used to be when you and I first got into this thing. What are your offseason storylines that are the most interesting to you?
Well, I think the young quarterbacks at Ohio State and Michigan, super interesting. Julian Sayin at Ohio State, Bryce Underwood at Michigan, some other young talented guys in the offing as well. What Penn State has done this offseason, I don't think it's quite to the level of what Ohio State did last offseason, but, they are loading up in a way that they really haven't before. The 2 running backs, so I think both would have been day 2 picks. Gatron Allen, Nicholas Singleton coming back. They get Drew Aller, back at quarterback. He's going to be one of the most experienced passers in the country. And I know the Notre Dame game did not end well for him, but, really had, I think, otherwise a very solid year. He's going to be one of the top 5 returning quarterbacks in the country. And then they hire the guy who coordinated the number 1 defense in college football, in Jim Knowles. So I think Penn State is going to be very interesting. Elsewhere, I think that Texas with Arch Manning, and I was talking about this with somebody the other day. They play in Columbus right off the bat, and the potential kind of reminds me of 2005 Texas at Ohio State. Like, we knew Vince was really good. He was ballyhooed. He had the big Rose Bowl performance against Michigan, but I don't think people realized, this guy might be the best player in the country until that Ohio State game. So there's some potential reprise for Arch Manning in Texas. I don't know what else you thinking?
I want to go back to on the saying part, because we were just kind of having a conversation with Ohio State, and I did the sacrilegious thing around here where I said I don't think Ohio State should be number 1 in the preseason because I think they have a bunch of real talented questions, but they have a bunch of unproven. I mean, the running back room is going to be a refresh, a start over. There's a ton of defensive starters, but then it comes down to saying, and like you, and it's from the folks I've talked to, it's a consistent. It's not even a whisper. It's just kind of accepted that he's going to win the job. Now, Lincoln Keenholt stayed. Tavian St. Clair, top 3 quarterback in the country coming in as a true freshman. But all of the whispers that I've heard, which have become direct conversations, are that Sayin is the one they've been waiting for. What have you heard kind of as you followed Ohio State through the season in regard to him and the amount of pressure that – I mean, can you imagine? He was the number 1 recruit in the country at quarterback a couple of years ago, and now he gets to open with Arch Manning in the shoe if he wins the job?
Yeah, and he's kind of been overshadowed by, I think, the combination of Will Howard and then Bryce Underwood going to Michigan, and then you mentioned Arch Manning. He's going to be overshadowed in that Texas game. So I don't think that's a bad spot for him to be in. Also, I think the national championship probably alleviates some of the pressure for him.
Yes.
But I will say this, like, you mentioned Ohio State, and they are definitely going to be, unproven coming into the season at a lot of positions, untested. They're going to have a lot of new faces. They also have maybe the two best players in college football coming back in Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. So that's a pretty dadgum good foundation to operate with out of the gate. And I could see Ohio State next year, maybe you lose the Texas game, maybe you slip up here and there. They could be a team that nobody wants to deal with by the time December comes around. So it'll be fascinating to see if they can win enough games to put themselves in position to win the Big Ten or at least make the playoff, because I think they can be really dangerous in the playoff again. I don't know that they're going to be the favorite. I'm kind of with you. I don't necessarily buy the preseason number one, although if it's not them, who is it? Because if you're going to say it's Texas, well, they lose a lot of guys too. They got a lot of guys leaving in the secondary, the offensive line. Arch Manning is kind of a question mark, even though, he's super talented too. I don't know that there's anyone in the SEC that is else in the SEC is like an obvious alternative. Alabama, at least in our way too early rankings, they were like 15th. I couldn't believe how low they are, but then you think about it and it kind of makes sense. So, the Big 12, I think BYU, Arizona State are pretty interesting, with the quarterback play they're going to have. ACC, Miami with Carson Beck. But I don't know that, there's an obvious number one, and that could change. I think we could have a new number one based on some developments in the spring, but is it out of the realm of possibility that Ohio State could defend the title? Absolutely not. I think they're going to be really good again next year. They just might be better in November, December than they start out September, October because of, all the young players they're going to have to play.
I think if anyone other than James Franklin was coaching Penn State, it'd be Penn State. I think they should be the preseason number one. I just think when you look at it, we just did something with the futures, and we were on ESPN Bet and looking at the futures of college football, Jake, and you look at it and you're like, I feel like there's upwards of 13 teams who are kind of all similar in terms of combination of returning talent or unproven talent, whereas last year it was Texas. If I were to told you at the beginning of this last year, you can have Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, or Georgia, or you can have the field, you would have taken those four.
Oh, I probably would have taken – I might have taken just Ohio State, honestly. Now, they got there in a way we didn't really expect, but, I was super bullish on Ohio State because you talk to NFL people you trust, and, this team is, different. They just got talent that we have not seen in the playoff era, and that came to fruition in the playoffs. But, this year, I mean, if you gave me two teams, I would take the field. I don't care what two teams you give me. And I think that, there's could South Carolina make a run this year? Could Florida be back? At the top, is Oregon going to, fall that far? I think there's a lot of interest. You are right, though. Penn State should be the favorite to at least win the Big Ten going into the preseason, but it's just hard to believe in them because we've seen them just not win that game that they have to have. I don't love their receiving core for Drew Aller. That was a big problem last year. Now you lose Tyler Warren. I love the backfield, but I don't know, what playmakers they're going to have at the receiver position. And then defensively, they lose some guys too. Aldu Carter might be a top 3 pick. He was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. They have to replace him. But Jim Knowles, Ohio State fans know, he's going to figure out a way to produce a pretty competent defense, and they've got talent coming up the ranks there too. So Big Ten will be really interesting next year.
Yeah, it really will be. Talking to Jake Trotter, senior college football writer at ESPN. Are you surprised that the Michigan reporting from Ross Dellinger yesterday in terms of them just saying, yeah, prove it, we're not settling on anything, and trying to minimize everything that happened up there? Should it be a bigger story, or is there just fatigue? I was on ESPN's college football page. There's just no mention of it. Should it be a bigger story, or is it just fatigue around that story?
I think everybody's just kind of waiting for there to be a finality to it. It's just kind of been You're right. There is a little bit of fatigue with it. Like, it's just been in the news for so long, and there really hasn't been a significant development, I would say. And then, you have the Netflix documentary. Yeah. Let's just see what happens when there's an actual ruling. That's kind of the way I look at that.
Kind of waiting it out, yeah. You spent a lot of time the last few years on very close on the Browns beat. One Browns view from you as someone who was around that coaching staff and that front office for a while. They've got a lot of holes to address, potentially an entirely new quarterback room. With the time that you spent around them, what do you think their plan will be for filling this roster up the way that they need to this offseason?
So I don't know what Andrew Berry thinks of the quarterbacks in this draft. My guess is that if Cam Ward were there at 2, they would take him. I don't know that they would take Shedeur or even Jalen Milroe, who for whatever reason is getting like top 10 buzz all of a sudden. I don't know that.
Don't believe that.
I don't know if I see that. So like, I think there's 3 scenarios that they can take Cam Ward at 2. They could trade down, which I think would be preferred, and pick up an extra first-round pick and still get a really good player like a Mason Graham or an Abdul Carter to pair with Myles Garrett. Or, you just stay put and you take Travis Hunter. I think those are kind of the 3 options they have. I think option 3 is probably the least likely. And I think option 1 kind of depends on what they think of Cam Ward by the time the draft comes around. But to me, like, he is the only guy I would take from the quarterback position with a top 3 pick. And I'm not anti-Shedeur. I just think if you're projecting him out, I don't know that I see like superstar status from him because he just doesn't have, a Josh Allen type skill set. Like, I think he could be a pretty good NFL quarterback because of his decision making and toughness. And Cam Ward has got a lot of tools to work with, and similar to like Jaden Daniels, played a ton of college football. And we've kind of seen with these quarterbacks, like, if you're in the 30, 40, whatever start range in college football, that is translated pretty well to immediate success in the NFL. Now, Cam Ward is not the same kind of player of Jaden Daniels. I'm not comparing the two. And Cam Ward probably would have been in the Bo Nix, Michael Penix range in last year's draft. But that's kind of the way I see it. I think they have some opportunities to do something really interesting. But as you said, I mean, you need left tackle. You need a running back. You probably need another wide receiver. You need secondary help all of a sudden. You've got to – you've really only got like one surefire guy on the defensive line in Myles Garrett. So there's a lot of holes they got to fill. I mean, you look at the all-rookie teams last year, Browns didn't have anybody on any of those all-rookie teams. And then you look at Tampa Bay. You look at the Rams. They've got 5 guys. They drafted 5 starters. The Eagles – getting impact guys up and down the draft. That's what the Browns have to do. They have to hit like an A- type draft, or oh boy, it's going to be a long few years.
Yeah, certainly could be. Great perspective as always, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Tebow.
All right, that's our buddy Jake Trotter, senior college football writer at ESPN on the Bryan Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We hit Thing or Not a Thing up next. Bishop and Friends right here on the Fan.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
The Ohio State Coaches Daily Show is brought to you locally on the Fan by Credit Union of Ohio.
This is a Daily Show with Coach Jake Diebler, brought to you by Encova Insurance. But we've been raving lately about Ivan Yagovin with the way he's played. Is it easy to see that his confidence has turned into the influence that he has on games, Jake?
Yeah, I think so. He's playing with confidence, and the reps he's getting in practice have been really beneficial for him, and he's putting extra work in, and I think he's seeing the benefit of that extra work, and that's helping him get the confidence that we're seeing on game day.
Okay, we'll have another comment in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
Now, the officials have been talking for quite some time.
All righty, let's see what they have to say.
Upon further review, there is no penalty on the play. However, we have conferred and discovered that Bob, the line judge, has saved a boatload for his kids' college using Ohio's 529 plan. It is tax-free, accepted nationwide. Bob recommends we all go to collegeadvantage.com. First down.
Well, that's not entirely unexpected.
Classic Bob.
At Ohio State, we are the never afraid to innovate teams and the improve people's lives teams. Together, we are the Ohio State University. You're listening to the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Jake, can ask you about Ivan Yagobin and the way he's played. How is the international influence and international recruiting become part of not only your program, but college basketball in general?
We want to be aggressive recruiting internationally. I really enjoy the international game, and I think the skill level and experience, oftentimes you can get a freshman who has more high-level experience in an international player than maybe you can here in the States. But I think because how much recruiting's changed, you got to have all options available, and it's a space we want to continue to utilize.
It is the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, basketball fans, Credit Union of Ohio wants to help you score more by making life more affordable. It's time to play with a team that helps you win every day. Credit Union of Ohio's loan rates have dropped to provide affordable financing for the things you want and need. It's time to reevaluate your current loans and consider refinancing with a team that cares about you. Check out current specials and get started scoring more money at cuofohio.org. That's cuofohio.org. NCUA insured, equal housing lender.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
At Meijer, we work hard to bring more of the good life to your life, so you can bring home more perfectly plump and flavorful produce picked for precise freshness, beautifully marbled beyond brag-worthy certified Angus beef, and more must-have money-saving M-Perks rewards. Because saving more on local favorites is good, but bringing home more of what you love in every trip, that's the good life. We do more to make life a good deal better at Meijer.
They're trained. They're fired up. Let's do it. When you need heat, they can't be beat. They're Ohio State's undefeated heating and cooling team. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
10 feet tall and bulletproof isn't just a saying, it's a way of life. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, time for a little thing or not a thing on a First Friday Miracle. Hit it, fellas.
Thing or not a thing?
Sponsored by Apex Plumbing Pros.
CBS Sports says 57.7 million people watched the Bills-Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. It's the second most watched non-Super Bowl game in NFL history. Only the 2009 NFC Championship between the Vikings and Saints did better with 57.93. The NFC title between the Eagles and Commanders did 44.2 million viewers. Thing or not a thing?
That's a big gap between the AFC title game and the NFC title game. That's that's 13 million difference is wild to me. I'm not surprised that it did 57.7. Obviously, the Chiefs are known commodity. The Bills, everybody who isn't a Chiefs fan is rooting for them. It's the game we kind of all were waiting for. It's a game that I think a lot of people thought, well, the winner here is going to win the Super Bowl. Although don't sleep on Philly, but I think that's kind of the perception going into this game. Also has to be acknowledged that there are a great many of folks that are attracted to Kansas City because of Travis Kelce's girlfriend, and that's the non-traditional folks who are going to turn in to see an image of her in a press box. Like, that's real. Can't pretend it's not, and I think that contributes to it too. It's a monster number. I think the thing that is most interesting, though, is the difference between AFC and NFC being as big as it was surprised me. Also a lesson for college football, which receded in 10 years, 10 million viewers of its national championship game. The NFL continues to push forward bigger and bigger and bigger, or at least maintaining a very high plateau where college football dipped, and I think it's something they need to look into.
I think it helps show the star power between the teams in those games. Mahomes, Kelce, you mentioned Taylor Swift that comes along with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a big-time name in this league, and the star power in that game was just greater than what we had in the Philadelphia game, where I'm not sure that – I think Saquon Barkley is a pretty big star, but I don't know. Obviously, he's not on the level of those guys, but Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels aren't quite there yet.
The Los Angeles Times is reporting the head football coach at St. John Bosco, Jason Negro, has been hit with a lawsuit filed on behalf of 3 people who were fired from the school that accused Negro of embezzlement. The three plaintiffs are reportedly former high-ranking school employees who were fired last year and allege they were fired after reporting concerns over the way finances administered by Negro were conducted. Negro has been the head coach at St. John Bosco since 2010. The 3 employees claim they wanted things to be done by the books, with financial records of transactions kept and taxes paid accordingly, that they were fired over the matter. The lawsuit alleges that, quote, only cash was accepted as payment for youth camps run by St. John Bosco, that gear given to Negro by Nike was sold for cash, and that the proceeds from parking, game programs, and raffles at home games were paid in cash to Negro, who allegedly kept the cash in a safe in his office. Thing or not a thing?
A not surprising thing at all. Not at all. And that he would use some of that. The further reporting here, he allegedly paid some assistant coaches with that cash, and allegedly paid for some of the cash to pay for a group of trips among his coaching staff to places like Palm Springs. Like, least surprising thing ever, youth sports being corrupt. There is everything that you just read here, no names please, but there is a basketball operation that does, in the state of Ohio, that does everything that you just alleged here. And so, yeah, I think this is very normally how high school football goes. And in some places it's encouraged, and St. John Bosco is a big time program. And my guess is, in order to make him happy, this is how you wet the beak. And I'm guessing these 3 people blew the whistle on it, and folks are like, well, no, this is how it works. This is how we stay good. We can't pay him out of the school district. This is how we make it right by him. So I think this is a very familiar story. It's not a thing in the sense of, I think this happens everywhere.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bo. I think this stuff runs rampant. And listen, we go back, and obviously this isn't on the same severity level, but you think of things like the Jerry Sandusky incident in Penn State, and how are they allowed to go on for so long? Well, when these programs are the biggest thing at these schools and make the most money, there's a lot of people that are involved in the cover-up, and a lot of people that want to be a part of it and want the success to continue.
We'll do a choose-your-own adventure here. Saints head coaching news or Russell Wilson news?
Let's go let Russ cook.
On Friday, Seahawks head longtime Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll reached a deal with the Raiders on a 3-year contract. He's got an option for a 4th. According to Ian Rappaport, Carroll and Russell Wilson, current Steelers quarterback, have remained close, and Russell Wilson is a strong option for Las Vegas. The reporting goes, quote, one of Carroll's good friends is still Russell Wilson, the Steelers quarterback. My understanding is Russell Wilson wanted to play for the Raiders last year, which didn't happen. Look for that union potentially to be discussed. Wilson signed a 1-year deal with the Steelers last offseason. He'll be a free agent when the new league year begins, so there's the potential for a reunion. A thing or not a thing?
I wonder how Pittsburgh fans feel about him. Do they want him back? I can't get a sense if they want him back or not, or if they feel like he was limited. It felt like all of their rage was pointed at Mike Tomlin and not what they aren't offensively. Look, he's married to Sierra. Do I think that she's crazy about living in Western PA versus Vegas? No, I'm not. Like, move to Nevada, tax-free, no state tax, rather. It's a great place to live. Quarterback the Raiders, be with your old buddy. All of those things check boxes for me. This seems kind of like a no-brainer for him to end up with the Raiders, unless he was really pulled by what happened this year in Pittsburgh and the success, because obviously he had some there, and it resuscitated his career. His career was on life support by the time he was done with Denver. So this feels like a very connect the dots. He'll end up a Raider. And again, I go back to that original question I asked. I don't know if Pittsburgh, like the fan base, do they want him back or not? I don't know.
Wilson started off hot with the Steelers, but they ended up 6-6 with him as they kind of struggled down the stretch. Also, Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson, as he has been named to the Pro Bowl this morning as a replacement for someone because nobody is playing in it. I saw Drake May and Russell Wilson both added. This makes a lot of sense for Pete Carroll, right? They need a quarterback, and this is someone who knows him and his head coaching style and the system he'll want to run. So I don't know if it helps Vegas, and it's certainly not the long-term fix for them at quarterback, but it definitely seems like this reunion makes sense.
I think the one thing I would say, too, on the Pro Bowls, like if you're a replacement Pro Bowl guy, I don't think it should count as a Pro Bowl.
No.
Like for contract standpoint, like Snoop Hundley's a Pro Bowler. He played 4 games for the Ravens and ended up in the Pro Bowl a couple years ago. So like that, you're not a Pro Bowler if you're a replacement in my book. Like you got to be in that initial rung, otherwise you miss it. It's just ridiculous. Like everyone's a Pro Bowler at this point. Final hour on a First Friday. Up next, we'll kick it off with a little bit of Hey Guys. Still time to get your questions into the fellas. Hashtag Hey Guys at 971BFS. You can also do so via the YouTube chat. We will get to that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We've been your Jackets flagship station since day one. All the goals, all the action, all the memories. Your home for the Columbus Blue Jackets, The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Adam Schefter here with Vivid Seats. We've got some late-breaking news coming out of the stands. According to multiple sources, Vivid Seats fans are scoring rewards on every purchase and at a rapid pace. Obviously, these rewards are a game changer, and coupled with their MVP-worthy ticket selection, why get tickets anywhere else? Don't drop the ball this season. Shop with Vivid Seats and earn rewards on every ticket. And as the official ticketing partner of ESPN, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code Schefter. That's code Schefter.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals with savings beyond low prices. Like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
You'll find low prices on thousands of items. The yellow and red tags mean you'll save big on sparkling ice water, Kroger brand chips, and so much more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Guys, it's D. Miller. It's a new year and time to keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you're lacking energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. testosterone therapy, or TRT may be the answer. Don't settle for a standard dosage TRT plan. Look for a personalized treatment plan like you'll get at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 credit when you refer a new patient. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The Columbus Blue Jackets are set to embark on a 4-game road trip starting tomorrow night in Las Vegas. Thursday's face-off against the Golden Knights is 10 p.m. CBJ will go out west with 55 points. That's tied with the Lightning for the second wildcard spot in the East. Center Boone Jenner was cleared for hockey activities over the weekend. The Jackets captains missed all 50 games with a shoulder injury suffered in training camp. He could return as early as the Jackets' home game on February 22nd against the Chicago Blackhawks. In college football, former Ohio State defensive tackle Hero Kanu has announced a transfer to Texas. The University of Michigan says they won't settle with the NCAA in their ongoing sign-stealing investigation. That fight's likely headed to a hearing in front of a Division I committee on infractions. And in college hoops, Ohio State is at Penn State tomorrow night at 6:30. Buckeyes look to make it 3 straight. You can hear Ohio State hoops and breaking sports news when it happens, all on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Keep your friends close and your producers closer. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, final hour here on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Joshua Perry coming up in 30 minutes. Right now, time for a little Hey Guys. Hit it, fellas.
Nothing is off limits. Your participation is required. Just use the hashtag Hey Guys and ask anything you want. Do it now.
Are you talking about High Bank Distillery? You're talking about the $50 gift card to our great friends at High Bank and that distillery tour. They're tasting for up to 10. The winner here gets that. High Bank is home of the best blended whiskey in America, 3 years running, located right here in town. Stop by High Bank's 3 locations, Grandview, Gahanna, Westerville. Enjoy their award-winning spirits for your next happy hour. Make your reservation at highbankco.com. Drink local, drink High Bank. Their bourbon is out. It went quick. If you see it, scoop some up. Go ahead, Reese.
Our first one comes to us from Dustin in the YouTube chat who asks, hey guys, my girlfriend's birthday is tomorrow. We're in Columbus on February 8th. I argued, why not tie her birthday, Valentine's Day, and us being in the city for one extravagant night? She disagrees bigly. How would you handle this?
You're right. He's right. That's the right way to do it. Unfortunately, you're never going to be able to sell that up the ladder. You're just not. You're right. Like, let's do one great one. And her response to that is, well, why don't we just do 2 great ones? Unfortunately, the only way to make that right is to somehow reverse engineer it so making one great night is her idea. That's kind of the best chance you have at that. But you have it right. And furthermore, like if the situations were reversed and my wife said to me, we can have one great night and do the town up right, or we can do 2 separate things. I take the one, do it upright, is what I would do. I cannot stand Valentine's Day. Cannot stand. And the one that I boycotted right away, I don't know if you guys participate in this, but when I first moved here, my wife was trying to convince me something called Sweetest Day. I said, oh, go to hell. I'm not doing Sweetest Day. Come on. We got one. Valentine's Day, we don't need Sweetest Day, too. Like, this is a made-up holiday. Bunch of nonsense. So, I'm with him. I think that, unfortunately, once it's been... my advice to you, I guess, going forward would be, if you're going to try and pull something like that off, which I think, again, I would be for, I think you got to reverse engineer it so that it's her idea.
I like the reverse engineering, Bo. Whenever you can make someone feel like it's their idea, you're much better off. But yeah, unfortunately, I think he's going to have to bite the bullet on this one and have multiple celebrations here.
All right, this next one comes to us from a young man on X by the name of Tyvis Powell.
Who?
Yeah, at one Tyvis is the handle
like someone
there.
Who's got a broken jump shot.
Now, he says, hey, guys, I was wondering if Eric likes Bo more than me, seeing that he's always present for Bishop and Friends, but not the Saturday Spectacular, which he adds you can hear right here on The Fan Saturday mornings from 9 to noon. Also, am I eligible for the gift card? Miss you guys.
We miss you, too. We'll talk soon. You don't drink. You go eat.
Their food, though.
Food's extraordinary. So he's not ineligible. I guess this is more for you. Why are you not available for the Saturday Sports Spectacular as readily as you are for this show, Reese?
This
coming from your personal pride.
This Saturday, I will not be here, and I only miss about 1 or 2 in a given off season. This is because there's a baby shower that I'm going to.
Oh, you should have used work as an excuse to get out of that.
I'm with Bake.
What do you
That's
mean?
Amateur job out of you.
I feel so appreciative to be invited to that.
That's an amateur job out of you, Reese. Anytime
Sorry,
you have an
guys.
out with work, I'm sorry, I got to work. I don't know what to tell you. The amount of times that I've gotten out of stuff on Saturdays and Sundays by saying that I have to watch something very closely for my job is infinite. So, as you continue in your relationships, young Jedi, just remember that work is the olive branch that can make all that ails you go away.
I'll answer his other question, though, Tyvis. You are not eligible for the gift card.
Did I miss? Did High Bank come out with their own lemonade? Did I miss that?
They
or
make
what?
a great lemonade. They really do.
There we go.
It's got vodka and it's a blueberry lemonade.
Maybe that's how we can,
Well. Zachary asks, hey guys, what players do you think might enter the transfer portal that Ohio State might be interested in?
I think it would be, Zach, it would be pretty silly to try and name players around the country. This would be my rule of thumb for you from an Ohio State talent acquisition standpoint. And I think we learned it last year in the portal, both with before Nick Saban left Alabama and then after, even more especially. If you have this is the general rule of thumb in college football at the moment. If you have the opportunity to acquire elite talent, even if it is at a position where it's not necessarily something you need, you do so. And so if somebody who is uber talented, who they've recruited before, pops in, they'll be all over it. That would be my projection on that. The other thing I would tell you, though, is position group wise, keep your eyes open. I still think they'd love to add a veteran quarterback. I think that they would love to have, if there's a difference maker who pops in at running back, you'd want to look at that. I think they could still be active in that spring portal window that opens up. But so just rule of thumb, ultra talented, uber talented people who they've recruited maybe as high school players, any of those guys pop in, yep, they'd be interested. And then I think they need a veteran quarterback in that room, and I think that they also need maybe one more home run hitter in the offensive backfield. Safety as well, as Bake said earlier in the show. Not a lot of depth there.
Yeah, we were talking about one thing Ohio State does well with this portal so far is they've used it to plug holes or get depth needs, and that's my number one, is some depth in that safety position. I love the cornerbacks. I know they're unproven behind the starters, but I think these cornerbacks are super talented. I'd like to see maybe a veteran safety back there, and Bo, as you mentioned, a veteran quarterback would definitely help this QB room.
I'll say this, Jaden Rashad has been to a lot of places and still available for anybody at the right price of probably less than $13 million?
Yes, I would think.
Mark asks, hey guys, my buddy is turning 40. What is the best gift? Alcohol, dinner, or a hobby-related gift like golf balls?
Mark, I would say I think the best gift on you ought to know him really well. You call him your buddy, so you probably know him really well. If he is someone who likes a specific type of alcohol, if he's a tequila drinker, bourbon drinker, something like that, a really nice bottle is really nice. I would probably I would enjoy that. I'm not golf ball guy. I got a billion of those. So I would probably shy away from that. A nice dinner's nice with your buddies. I think that could be fun too. Go watch a game and have a nice meal. I think one of my favorite things to do is have a great meal and watch sports. Go to a white tablecloth, sit at the bar, and watch sports. That's always a win. So I think anything like that would be a win. But I like the alcohol play. I think that's a win.
Mark, why don't we do this? Why don't you get 2 other buddies to go in with you on this? Plan a round of golf with him where there's alcohol involved, and then you take him to dinner afterwards. I think that's a huge win.
I suck so bad at golf, and so I'm terrible anyway. If I cocktail during, there are no wheels remaining on the cart. I mean, it's a mess. I get to the point where, like, if I have even so much as a beer while playing, I can't hit the damn thing at all. And it's not because I'm woozy. It's just something, or that it affects, the alcohol would affect me that much. I'm a professional. Like it doesn't. But there's just something about the combination that does not work.
Bo, you got to have some swing lube.
I don't. It doesn't work. Some swing juice. Remember Vince Vaughn in Curb Your Enthusiasm when he was getting a little swing juice with the flask? And they made fun of him? That was pretty good.
Ace asks on the YouTube chat, hey guys, you get to choose one: an expensive steak dinner with Deion Sanders and Stephen A. Smith, a high-end lunch with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, or breakfast with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Option 2. Easy. Martha Stewart, Snoop Dogg. I've met Mr. Dogg. He's awesome. He's a ball. So him and Martha Stewart together, lunch, sold. I love lunch anyway, a big lunch guy. So, I'm for everything that box checks. What was the first one? Stephen A. and who?
Deion Sanders, an expensive steak dinner with the two.
Now, I would tell you, if you could replace Deion Sanders with Mad Dog Russo, and you get me Doggy, Stephen A., and steak, now I'm interested. That I would be interested in.
I think the dinner could be interesting, but I think there's only one right answer here, and that's Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg. That's like the Odd Couple 3 right there.
It's everything you'd want.
And it wouldn't feel like at any point they would try to talk over each other. Like, it would be very pleasant conversation. I don't think breakfast with a couple would be fun, especially a couple you don't know.
No, that's awkward.
And then Deion and Steven would be yelling over each other, and you'd never get a word in.
Yeah, I've met both Stephen A. and Deion, interviewed Deion a bunch when he would come back to Florida State. They're very similar. It'd be fine. That's definitely the second pick. The last pick would be Travis and Taylor. I'm with you. I think dinner with a couple or breakfast with a couple would just be weird. No thanks on that. Got one from Connor here. We saw a return of the gray sleeves for several games in the 2015 season following the national championship in 2014. Will we see the gray sleeves in a regular season game next year? I think you could. I wouldn't be surprised if they wore it against Texas. I think for right now they are going to be reserved for national championship games and monster games. I'm always hopeful that eventually we will get to a point where that's the permanent uniform. It is so superior to their current permanent uniform, which has been in place since what? Troy Smith's senior year? Has it really been since 2006 that we've had these?
It's been a while.
I mean, it's been a long time. I wasn't here when they took the gray off. I cannot imagine it was viewed fondly when they removed the gray from the Buckeye jersey.
I wonder what that unveiling was like. Just crickets in the room.
Yeah, like when the Browns redid theirs.
Oh boy, that fell flat.
What are you doing? You doing what?
Sometimes you just have it right and you don't need to tweak things.
You cannot have a home Ohio State football uniform that does not have one of the school colors on it. And you currently do. And you have for almost 20 years. It's long past time to make that right. Ross Bjork, Ryan Day, Ambassador Cool, it's time. It's enough.
It's time we pick a winner.
Mark had a good one, didn't he? He had the good advice. That was a good one out of Mark. Mark, well, there you go. This can go into your best gift. You can do this with. This is our gift to you. He was the one that had the buddy, right, with the gift.
Buddy's turning 40.
Here you go. Mark, this is our gift to you. You're the winner of the $50 gift card. You're going to get the distillery tour and the tasting for up to 10 at our great friends at High Bank. And now you have something to do for the 40th birthday party of your buddy. When you're talking about High Bank, best blended whiskey in America, 3 years running. The bourbon dropped Friday. Lines around the block to scoop it up, and for good reason. It is very, very good. Make your reservation at highbankco.com. Drink local, drink High Bank. Ryan Day continued to make the rounds in the glow of winning a national championship. Some of the interesting comments he had on the Dan Patrick Show coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Unlike your deadbeat uncle, we'll never leave you stranded in a ditch when you were 6. This promo may have been a touch too specific. The Fan.
Get ready ready for the big game and stock up on home team favorites like buy 5, save $5 deals at Meijer. Mix or match hundreds of items like assorted varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizza, 24 packs of Coca-Cola or Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable, and Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue or marinade sauce. Buy 5, save 5 this week at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in-store or in the Meijer app.
Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
Next on Metro's Nada Yada Island podcast.
I almost fainted when the 4 new bombshells arrived. 4 free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G phones at Metro.
No way.
And finding out the 4th line is free. Oh, things got heated.
That's wild. Join Metro and get 4 free Samsung 5G phones. Only at Metro.
Plus tax. Bring 4 numbers and an ID and sign up for any Metro Flex plan. Not available currently at T-Mobile or have been with Metro in the past 180 days.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Breaking is never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. TNCs apply.
Getting cold feet? Call Care Heating and Cooling and we'll fix your furnace fast. Call 1-800-COOLING.
Do your good-looking shoes hurt and you don't want to wear ugly shoes? At the Good Feet store, we can help you wear your heels, boots, and dress shoes again in comfort. Trade in your bad feet for good feet at the Good Feet store.
Remember how that little girl in Poltergeist was in the TV?
They're here.
Yeah? Well, she's actually dead now. It's quite sad. Anyway, watch your favorite fan shows on your TV by subscribing to us on YouTube. Search 971 The Fan. Do it now.
Have you ever told a friend?
Oh, I'm fine.
When you really felt?
Just so overwhelmed.
Or sent a text?
Can't sleep. Are you awake?
When you couldn't find the words to say?
I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts right now.
Then this is your sign to reach out to the 988 Lifeline for 24/7 free confidential support. You don't have to hide how you feel. Text, call, or chat anytime.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at a beautiful day today. Lots of sunshine. Highs in the low 40s. Yet again, it will be windy today. Winds could occasionally gust over 30 miles per hour. Clear and cold tonight. Lows in the mid-20s. Increasing clouds on your Thursday. Warmer with a high of 47. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 TV weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
The Fan is live and local with Morning Juice, Caffeinate, and Dominate.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
The Fan, Ohio's sports destination. Taking the art of sports radio and day drinking to a whole new level. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
I was not here in 06 when they took the gray off the sleeves and made the change to the jersey. I know Andrew Lynn's been all over this, that part of the reason for it was Nike wanted all of the striping to be the same. So they wanted that helmet stripe to be symmetry on the sleeve, which was then symmetry on the pant. And so it was all kind of the same was the idea there. It was a miss, honestly. Matt with this again on, so he's very good. I definitely remember when the new EA college football game came out in 06 with the jerseys they have now debuted. Quite simply, all hell broke loose. I remember the smaller numbers on the shoulders were a huge outrage also. Yeah, that's part of it. I think most time when people look at what's the best the Ohio State Buckeyes have ever looked, it is the Eddie George run against Notre Dame is kind of the one with the huge numbers on the shoulders and the big gray sleeves and all of that. There's something about that look at this with the shiny silver pants and all of that really, really works. I think they've crushed it when they wear them in the playoff. I think it's awesome that they've worn them the last 2 times they've won the national title. I think that helps. You wore the white one in the game this year in the game against Oregon in 2014. You had the red one with the black. Where do we stand on the black numbers on the shoulders versus white? I kind of like the black, but I think that's a very 1968 version of it, is what that's paying an homage to, is the 68 team. But I do like kind of the way that it looks. I've never seen it on the white one.
I much prefer the colors to all be the same on the numbers. Like the white on the scarlet jerseys. Like I'm looking up right now of a picture of Andy Katzenmoyer.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's how Ohio State should look. Like the cowboy collar is totally up to you. I think that's the best football look, and the tribal and barbed wire tats. That's again totally a preference thing. But Ohio State should always have gray on the sleeves, scarlet the jersey, white the numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of the black numbers on the shoulders.
It's such a cool thing that they did with that specific team, that they did the black television. Their television numbers, what they are officially, so that in the old days you could see it from the television or from the press box. You could identify the numbers. But it's interesting that they did that in '68 and went black. I'd love to see it back permanently. I'm hopeful that at some point we will see the big gray sleeves as a permanent uniform. But I'm at least very thankful that they wear them now in big moments, because it's a gorgeous look when they do it. Ryan Day has been making the rounds, the media rounds. He was on The Tonight Show earlier in the week. He's been on Dan Patrick. He was on with Rothman and Ice at the end of last week. He was on with Chuck and Ernie as well. So he has been making all of the rounds. I do think one thing that you get when you talk to folks you don't normally talk to is some incredible candor when it comes to how your experiences were, and maybe just a little bit different tone of telling that story. So let's start with Ryan on Dan Patrick on the idea of, was it joy or relief to win it all?
Yeah, it was a combination of the two. Yeah, it was both. And I think the whole run that we went on throughout the playoffs was that way. I really haven't had as much fun coaching a team like that in a long time. It was just a bunch of guys together. There really was no class, because class was out, and we just spent a bunch of time together and had a bunch of fun playing. But in the end, as we head into that last game, we just knew that, it would just be another story that kind of comes and goes. But now the fact that we won, we're able to cement that story in the history of college football, and obviously at Ohio State.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think unless you are coaching Cinderella, like true Cinderella, if you have any sort of expectation around you, I don't think that feeling is unique to Ryan Day. I think everybody has a mix of joy and relief. Unless you're just the 16 seed who no one sees doing it. Then it's pure joy. But every other scenario, there's if you have any expectation at all, that if you're human at all, it's a combination of joy and relief. Like just getting to the finish line when you're supposed to, that's both. There's fun in that, and there's also relief that comes with that. Dan peppered Ryan with several Michigan questions, including if planting the flag galvanized the team.
I think it's certainly part of the story of the year. There's no question about that. And I felt like this team was close anyways. I thought we were galvanized. But when you go through something like that, you have to regroup and figure out, most importantly, what happened and how do we get these things fixed. So, there's a lot of ways to look at this, and some more dramatic than others. But the truth is, we had to get things fixed. There was things that were just not right coming out of that game that, in all three phases, we need to get addressed. And that was the bottom line. And there was a lot of other things that came with it, as you know. Once we got those things addressed and the players recognized that things needed to get fixed and knew the plan going into the Tennessee game, there was just there was a collective, just like you said, a bunch of guys together saying, all right, we're going to make this run and we're going to be dangerous once we get some momentum going again.
Also was asked by Dan how losing to Michigan affected him personally. One more on that.
Certainly, there was obviously disappointment amongst all the other emotions, but, once those things kind of come and go and you have a couple of days, you have to refocus yourself. And as difficult as that was, it was an opportunity to write an unbelievable story in the next month. And I felt like it was an opportunity for me as a dad, as a husband, and as a man to show my family that, when you get knocked down and you're backed up against the wall, that it's about how you handle yourself and how you fight yourself out of these types of situations. And then, for our team, for the guys on the team and the seniors and even the young guys to watch, how you handle yourself, and then have something to grab onto for the rest of their life, and then serve as an example for all the Buckeye fans who, certainly, had ups and downs this season, but we're able to, see how you handle yourself when things get really, really difficult. And I think that really defines people's character.
It's opportunity. They were afforded the opportunity to be able to make that right with the 12-team playoff, and then they took full advantage of it. That's why when we asked that question last week, like, which win will you remember most? To me, it's always Tennessee, because that's when I'm like, okay, this is what they're capable of. This is how you get off the mat, is you dominate a similar talented team in your place with a lot of their folks in the stands. That's how you get up off the mat. That's what you do. And they did it. And so that gave me confidence the rest of the way that they would be fine, because I thought that's the Buckeye team that we've been waiting to be seen. He's right. You can't write the story of this team without the Michigan loss. It's also correct that is, to this day, the most stupefying Michigan loss of any time I've been here, and as stupefying a Michigan loss as any in the history of the operation and that rivalry. That doesn't change because of the success that had. You're going to look back on that and go, how did that happen? In fact, maybe even more so.
Oh, I'd say more so, because that Michigan team stunk comparatively to other Michigan teams of the past. Like Michigan teams that you've drubbed by 30 points weren't better than that Michigan team. Even though the Wolverines finished and beat Alabama in whichever bowl game they played in, there's no way you would be able to. There's probably a lot of people you can't convince that Michigan team's better than Oregon, better than Texas, better than Tennessee, better than Notre Dame. Like, they weren't. And Ohio State handled the four I just mentioned a lot easier than they handled that Michigan team.
After you saw this Ohio State team do what they did against Tennessee and then follow that up doing what they did against Oregon, I felt like Chris Farley in the movie Black Sheep, after he just falls down the hill and then he grabs the root and the root gives way and he goes the rest of the way and he looks up and he's like, what the hell just happened? That's how I felt about that Michigan game. Like, it made it make less sense.
Yeah. No, it did. And it's, it's something that'll percolate again next year when you make that trip to Ann Arbor to try to make it right. Ryan was also on Chuck and Ernie's Steam Room with Charles Barkley and Ernie Johnson. This is an interesting one. His goals moving forward at Ohio State. Let's have a listen.
Woody Hayes is, the last one to win multiple national championships at Ohio State. And that's something that, I've now kind of set for myself is to be, the next head coach to win multiple national championships at Ohio State. And there's still a lot more to be done. And I also feel like this position can make a lot of impact throughout the country and throughout the state of Ohio. And I want to continue to do that with my family through different, charities. And I think, every year I've learned more and more what that is and what we can do. And so I love it here, and I want to stay as long as they'll have me.
And that's something where you go back to early December and you would have said there's a 50-50 chance, win or lose the national championship, that he would leave and go to the NFL. And now let's track down Woody. It's amazing. And that's an incredibly candid answer out of him about what the goal is moving forward, to say, I want a second national championship at Ohio State. He's certainly going to get the at-bats to be able to do so, what they're doing in recruiting. So really cool stuff. Glad he's had this victory lap. Happy for him. Thrilled for him on a human level that he's been able to have these experiences and share this, and only the beginning of much more to come. Joshua Perry's been on one of these runs. He knows how hard it is to repeat. He tried to do so. We'll get his perspective on this Buckeye team's task coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Get ready for the big game and stock up on home team favorites like buy 5, save $5 deals at Meijer. Mix or match hundreds of items like assorted varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizza, 24 packs of Coca-Cola or Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable. And Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue or marinade sauce. Buy 5, save 5 this week at Meijer. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in-store or in the Meijer app.
Looking to sell your home? Don't pay 6% commission. Call my guys at Sell for 1% Realtors. They're full service, not a do-it-yourself kind of thing. On average, customers save over $10,000. Give them a call, 614-451-6616. That's 451-6616.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Your furnace could be costing you in repairs and high utility bills. Replace it with Logan AC and Heat Services. Enjoy 0% APR financing for 72 months. It's hard to stop a train. Schedule now. Logan Services.
They're trained. They're fired up. Let's do it. When you need heat, they can't be beat. They're Ohio State's undefeated heating and cooling team. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
The perfect show for quarter zips and khaki shorts. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, let's get smarter. Great friend of the program, great friend in general, and a great human. Joshua Perry joining us on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline, of course, of NBC Sports. You had a front row seat this year to college football, to this Buckeye team, to all of it. You've had some time to unpack this season as a whole and then from the Buckeye perspective. What are some things that resonate most with you now with a little bit of ability to have some hindsight?
Well, appreciate you having me on, Bo. It's interesting just looking holistically at the season with the 12-team playoff. I am not necessarily a fan of the structure. I wasn't a fan of opening up the postseason. I do think that we had a lot of intriguing matchups, and I think it gave us this idea, and Buckeye fans are sitting with us right now, about, you know, how we count people out or what one day out of a number of Saturdays means. Certainly I like the urgency of the smaller field because it feels like every game has that immediate impact. But watching Ohio State go on the run at the end of the year, I thought it was remarkable just from that standpoint of you know, seeing a team turn it on for the postseason, kind of the way that we've seen in the NFL at times, and I'm not the person saying that college football needs to try to get closer to the NFL, but I do think that was an intriguing thing there. The other thing that I'm curious to see about is, you know, people have talked about the SEC, you know, maybe not being what it was before. I look at the structure of the way that those rosters were built for so long where, you know, Ohio State was able to do it, a few teams from the North certainly, but down there they got the proximity to talent. They could stockpile guys. You had 3-year players that would, you know, be out first-round picks, and then you'd be able to put a guy who had been waiting for a couple of years right into that spot, and he could probably become a first-rounder after a year on the field. Now you can't do that as much anymore because, you know, NIL, transfer portal, people are leaving. And I feel like from the Big Ten's perspective in particular, it was always development. It was always maybe a 4 or 5 year timeline for guys. And we're seeing now when you can entice players to come back for the extra couple of years, you can entice them to maybe stick around for the 1 year because you know you haven't played, we're going to reward you with NIL. We believe in the development we've done. That's how we put together back-to-back championships up north, I think, is through the veteran nature of it. And down south, there was a lot of 3-year guys. So those are two of the big things that stand out to me.
It's a great point on the SEC and the stockpiling that was allowed, and now a watered-down product, quite honestly. There are a couple of teams that may separate, but honestly, there's going to be a bunch of teams down there that kind of all look the same, and a lot of that is from an NIL perspective. One thing that I've made abundantly clear to the audience, and I know you know this stuff as well too, is whatever you think is happening in the sport behind the scenes, it's that times a billion. In terms of the way that this thing's being operated right now. We have a 12-team playoff. We have NIL. We have free transfer. We had a kid from Wisconsin who didn't even go in the portal and just transferred to Miami and said, prove it. If you could be the commissioner of college football for one day, what is the first thing that you would try to fix about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that happened at the end of the year that we saw, as soon as Ohio State finishes their run, everybody's tampering. And I think that tampering is one thing that everybody can agree with, because even if you do it successfully, it's also happening to you. And the only reason you want to do it is so that you can keep the competitive edge there. I talked to Eddie George about this actually earlier in the week. He's coaching at Tennessee State, and he's seen that from the perspective of they don't have a ton of NIL money, but they've been able to develop players there, and other people see it as an opportunity to build up their roster. They entice them to come into the portal, maybe sometimes on empty promises. He said that a suitable punishment would be a fine, significant fine, something that would be a real deterrent to programs for tampering, and then a scholarship reduction, which I thought was interesting too, because anytime you talk about reduced scholarships, I think people understand how important that is for competitive balance. I would attack that day one. The other thing I talked about, the 12-team playoff, I personally would probably shrink the field to 8. And I think you just gotta put them in there 1 through 8, right? Like, we're not going to have, auto buys tied to conference championships or anything. We're going to get you 1 through 8. We're going to have it be competitive. I think that opens up the field for more teams that are capable of winning a title, but it also does create that urgency that I thought was missing. Imagine Ohio State, after losing to Michigan, there would have been that bubble conversation. I think everybody, after a few days, it's tough, right? Turning the page after that one's hard, but people knew you get right into the playoff. Well, now you're having the conversation on, they're sitting there 6, 7, 8, doesn't feel very comfortable. I'd like to bring that back a little bit more.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you and I both know we're going to go to 16 is what it eventually will be. I think, Joshua, if they do, one of my big battle cries is you got to get rid of the conference championship games if you're going to go to 16. And I think one other thing that college football has to do is they've got to get out of the NFL's way. Like, we got to crown that. You see that in 2027, bud? Like, that's January 27th. They're going to try and play a national championship game. You have got to crown a national championship game in a much tighter window than the one that they're doing currently.
I'm totally there with you. The conference championships, I mean, there's so much money tied to it right now from a TV standpoint. But, you've seen voices like Joel Klatt. He's gone out there and suggested that you have a play-in tournament for the conferences. And I think that would be intriguing, get you the type of money. That would still be a timeline issue, which I do think they need to work on. It is crazy. And I think there was a fatigue, too, with the bigger field. And what I mean by that is, between the semifinal and the championship game, there were 2 weekends of NFL games that were played, and that should never happen. But I think this also allowed some of the bigger branded schools, like Georgia probably checked out. All of their fans probably checked out once they were done. The SEC had no reason to watch the national title game. The people down south had no reason to watch that. And so I do think there's this idea of, with the bigger field, there are these exit ramps where people can just check out of the postseason.
You guys, 10 years ago, won the national championship. Many of you came back and they said, hey, let's go. Let's run this thing back. And Urban has said it's the most talented team he ever had. I'm sure you would agree with that as well. We've talked about it a bunch in terms of everything that didn't allow for that to happen. If you could give, this is a very different circumstance in terms of a lot of new faces on this Buckeye roster that will attempt to repeat next year. If you could give them one piece of advice on the road to trying to repeat, what advice would you give?
You got to start from square one, right? I think our biggest issue in 15 was we had guys who had done it, right? Like, we figured it out. And we had a bunch of great players. We had legit celebrities. And I think these guys nowadays are probably better equipped to handle that than we were back when we were in college, because they're building brands. They're doing that from high school, so they understand how to balance everything. We had dudes at All-Star Weekend. We had guys out at the ESPYs, right? Like, it was real big-time celebrities. Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Ezekiel Elliott, Cardale Jones. And so I think you have to get yourself back to this mentality of, remember when they said we were nothing. That feeling that they had after they played Michigan, they've got to try to internalize that one way or another. And it's really difficult to manufacture that type of feeling. Now, you mentioned a lot of guys that are going to be playing this upcoming fall, they haven't necessarily made a name for themselves on the field. That's a positive because they have a standard to live up to. But it is really difficult to submit yourself to the same level of work when you finally tasted what it's like to be a champ. And you feel what this offseason's like, where there are pats on the back and you're going on the media tours and everything else. They got to be able to snap out of that real quick. And I think that's the thing that we struggle to do. And it's harder for them with the shorter offseason to get back into the work, right? To get back into the weight room and have Mick jump on those guys. It's a shorter process for them to get back to it.
How would you handle that? Like Caleb Downs, I don't need to see him doing a whole bunch of off-season stuff. Like, how do you handle spring ball with guys who went through 16 games?
It's funny, man. Urban was so maniacal about the rep count and Coach Mick and anybody who called it the 1,000 rep club. If you played over 1,000 reps in the 2014 season, that spring you were on a rep count during practice, and your off-season training was a little bit different. And when you're more veteran, I think you can handle that. So they'll be getting some guys ready, which is probably a good thing for working with the team. But where that hurt us the most was when we actually got into the fall. I felt like early in the season, we kind of slogged through some games because it wasn't the same type of spring. It wasn't as intense as we had before. And so it's a very tricky balance to making sure that they get the work in. I know Coach Mick right now is as old school as he's been in his approach. So I think he's going to be on top of those guys. But to your point, Caleb Downs, I don't need to see him out there either. Like, he's good, but you have to find that way to still keep him engaged and keep that edge.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one. Get you out of here on this one. The loss of Jim Knowles, how big of a loss is it? And if you were Ryan Day, what direction would you go with a replacement?
I think it's a pretty big loss. I mean, we saw what happened over the last few years with that defense, and in particular, this year they played really well. The only bad game they had was Oregon. I know people talk about, switching philosophy and all these different things. One thing I saw toward the end of the year is they played a lot of cover one, and those guys got really aggressive, and I thought the front was moving a lot more. It felt like what Jim Knowles wanted to come to Ohio State to do. So congratulations to him, obviously, on helping build a championship team in Columbus, but also on the opportunity for Penn State there. I think there are a couple of candidates they should look at internally. Matt G is a guy that people have talked about. If there was a philosophy issue, though, it feels like he was one of Jim Knowles' guys. So I don't know if that stands out from a philosophy standpoint, if that was in question. Tim Walton's another guy that I think should get a look. He's been a coordinator in the NFL. I'm of the mentality, though, that this is an opportunity to get a little bit petty and go out and poach you a great coordinator. Heard rumors about whatever teams were looking around at Ohio State's roster. Why don't you go poach one of their coaches, right? Like, show them that you're really here to play ball. No, I'm being totally serious. You can get whatever you want to get. But, yeah, I mean, start the evil empire. Go be petty. Go poach somebody's coach.
That's how I am, dude. I tell them to lean into all of that. Be Real Madrid. Be the New York Yankees, the Dodgers. Like, have that big, bad Buckeye chest and puff it out. I'm with you on all of that. Great talking to you. Give my best to the bride. How's the little man doing? How we progressing?
He's great. He's good. He's rolling around, crawling around like crazy right now. It's hard keeping tabs on him a little bit.
Well, they get mobile, buddy, and then you got to have your head on a swivel. Great talking to you.
At that point, always good.
All right. Great friend Joshua Perry joining us on the Bryan Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Of course, big college countdown on NBC Sports and on the NBC Sports primetime coverage of the Big Ten. You're officially endorsed in three things coming up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
Head to 971thefan.com to listen on demand and subscribe to all our podcasts. Wasting time has never been easier. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
At Meijer, we work hard to bring more of the good life to your life so you can bring home more perfectly plump and flavorful produce picked for precise freshness, beautifully marbled beyond brag-worthy certified Angus beef, and more must-have money-saving M-Perks rewards. Because saving more on local favorites is good, but bringing home more of what you love in every trip, that's the good life. We do more to make life a good deal better at Meijer.
Get your furnace fixed fast. Call Care Heating and Cooling, 1-800-COOLING.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Hey, Columbus, Brandon Beam here. I'm going to be at the new AT&T store at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Bring your friends, bring your family, and let's have some fun. Again, at 1605 Georgesville Square Drive. See you out there.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
I'm Leslie from Pella, Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
One thing we keep hearing here in town, Wilson, is that the cost of Pella windows actually pleasantly surprises most people.
Pleasantly surprised?
You get the Pella next level quality and looks, but we also have 5 different lines to fit most budgets.
Our customers are almost always surprised, but it's never pleasant. Is there such thing as like angrily surprised?
Price is a little high.
Oh no, they're a lot high.
Get the window that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
We at The Fan have created a show where you can be a homer, a hater, or whatever you want to be. Your family may not listen to you, but we will. Sundays at 11, it's The Fan Call-In Show presented by ESPN Bet at Hollywood Casino Columbus. You're welcome.
Hey, can we talk? It's a new year and I need to move on. We had a great run, but you're old now. So I'm trading you in at Great Lakes Kia.
And new Kias are under $5 a day.
That's less than lunch.
Lease new Kia K4, K5, and Sorrentos. All 3 under $5 a day at Great Lakes Kia.
That's only $149 a month for 24 months.
Yes, new 25 Kia K5 LXS, K4 LXS, and Sorrento LX. Standard with 3rd row seating. All 3 under $5 a day.
That Kia Sorrento is hot.
And we've got 0% financing.
But what if I'm not good enough for credit?
If you've got a job, you ride.
Under $5 a day.
Great cars, great people, Great Lakes Kia. GreatLakesKia.com. Want to take it for a test drive?
Oh, he needs to meet my parents first. To qualified buyers, visit GreatLakesKia.com for details.
It's almost Football Friday. All play and no work.
Sponsored by Tansky Sawmill Toyota.
Your home for football, The Fan. They'll offer betting advice, but don't bet on it being good. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, fellas, what do we have on the poll today?
The Daily Poll asks, what punishment will the Wolverines suffer following the NCAA's cheating investigation? 32% of you say probation, suspensions. 31% say the NCAA championship they won back in 2023 will be revoked. 27% say a slap on the wrist. 9% say no penalties will be given.
Oh, it'll be fine in scholarships. They're not going to take that title, but it'll be fine. And it'll be scholarships is the way that it goes. How about on the NBA versus college?
So you'd asked earlier in the show, what are you more interested in, college hoops or the NBA? Unsurprisingly, 80% of respondents there, about 150 of them say college hoops. About 20% say the NBA.
Just a sense of urgency that comes with it. Like, I did not, other than the fact that NBC likes Kentucky, I didn't have a rooting interest in Kentucky, Tennessee last night. But what I had was a sense of urgency.
Aren't we all Kentucky fans now?
For
Ohio State's got Indiana and Kentucky as their two ranked wins.
I was thinking, it's a first Friday. I was thinking like whiskey. Like, what am I missing? Yes,
that too.
We are all. Yes, all the Kentucky wins, the better will help. That league's an absolute snake pit. I mean, they got a lot of good teams in that league. The two Alabama teams are both good. Kentucky's good. Tennessee's good. There's a ton of talent in that league. It is a first Friday. Time for your officially endorsed. Hit it, fellas.
Bishop and Friends present First Friday. Officially endorsed. Because everyone deserves 2 Fridays.
You drink for the wrong reasons. My generation, we drink because it's good. Because it feels better than unbuttoning your collar. Because we deserve it. We drink because it's what men do.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. Last Friday it dropped. Bake has had some of it. I've had some of it from a while back, and now it can be shared with all of you. It is High Bank Bourbon. Adam and the fellas, Adam worked for a long time on this one. They had to get it done right. They wanted at least 6 years of aging on it. They got it. They blended 4 to 6 different unique bourbons to get it. What I think if you found yourself through the years liking bourbon similar to the ones that I've recommended through the years, the one constant is a wheated mash bill, and you're going to get that here. So you're going to get some really sweet notes. You're going to get a little bit of apple, a little caramel, a little honey in this. It's a lovely. They crushed it. It's the one with the wolf on the label. The labeling's beautiful. The bottle's beautiful. And what's inside's really good as well. And they ought to be very proud of what they've did, as with all things they do at High Bank. They absolutely crushed this one, and it is certainly you're officially endorsed on this fine First Friday. Time for 3 things on a First Friday. Hit it, fellas.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3 things.
Sponsored by Custom Air. Custom Air. Custom Solutions. Custom Comfort.
All right, number 1 for me. You, look, officiating is tough at the highest level. It's really tough at the youth sports level. It's, what I can tell, at its absolute bottom of the barrel in the middle school sports category. And I'll give you an example. So, NBC played 2 games the last 2 nights. In one of the same officiating crew, in one of the games, the opposing team played an up and back, an up and back, and an up and back with no whistle with 6 players. Everyone's screaming, they've got 6. Our coaches are going, they have 6. All you got to do is count them. Right before a foul is called, the coach of the opposing team has one of the kids sprint off so that he is not seen. But they played 2.5 up and backs with 6 players, and nobody noticed it. Yesterday in the game that we played, one kid on our team and a kid on the other team were fighting for the ball. Our coach is trying to call a timeout, okay? The 2 players are wrestling for the ball to the point where they eventually wrestle out of bounds. Here are the things you could have called. Possession and timeout, jump ball, foul. They didn't even blow the whistle. The players were out of bounds. The coach on the other team is, well, then it's a jump ball.
They got to let them play. Let them play through it.
They were out of bounds with the ball, and the 2 guys are just looking at each other. So if you haven't got there yet, buckle in. That's what you have to look forward to. Crazy.
Speaking of crazy, the Yankees crying poor at the Dodgers and what they've been spending this offseason. Los Angeles has spent more than $450 million in guarantees. Their 2025 luxury tax payroll is above $390 million. So here's Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner on the Yes Network bitching about it. Quote, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do that kind of thing that they're doing. We'll see if it pays off. What do you mean we'll see if it pays off?
Didn't they just win it?
Yep. Like, it's rich that he's doing it, too.
Yeah, of course,
Hal Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
How dare you take my business model and do it better than me? Guys, so I always come in here every day in the studio and pass Shark as he leaves, and Shark has stuff up on the TV. And I didn't pay attention when I first got in here to what was on, but I ended up looking up, and Good Morning America was on. And as I looked up, I'm sorry, the Today Show on NBC. Sorry about that. Rob Gronkowski was on there, and he was in a bright green suit like it was St. Patrick's Day or something, just living his character. But sometimes I feel like we forget just how big professional athletes are. Now, around here, we see Tyvus and we see Bobby all the time, and we know what big guys they are. But seeing Gronkowski next to normal-sized people on the Today Show, as opposed to what we usually see him on the weekends next to other professional athletes, it just made you realize how big of a human that man is.
Isn't he 6'7"?
Yeah, I believe 6'7", 260 pounds.
Yeah.
Just a monster.
He is. I wonder when his I don't get him in terms of the appeal. Like every time I see the USAA ads and all of it, I'm like, okay, like how long are we going to play this note? And he just keeps playing it. Number 2 for me, my dad gets in tonight. We have signed up for 6 nights with him in the domicile. This should be fine. It should be fine, but it's a long stretch. So cocktails will be had by all.
We had talked a little bit about this yesterday, where the 2025 Men's NCAA National Championship is going to tip at 8:50. That's 30 minutes earlier than the typical 9:20. I'm struggling to find the last time that it tipped before 9 p.m. Eastern, which tells me it's been more than like 20 years. Like I didn't realize we had gone that long with a past 9 o'clock Eastern tip for the national title.
It's been a long time, Reese.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Speaking of the TVs in here, First Take was on, and Mad Dog was doing his most tortured NFL fan bases list. At number 1, he had the Buffalo Bills. At number 2, he had the Cleveland Browns. And I would argue that the Browns fan base is the most tortured. We do not have Josh Allen. We didn't have Jim Kelly. We didn't go to 4 straight Super Bowls. We've never been to a Super Bowl. Sure, they had wide right, but we've had the fumble. We've had the drive. We thought we had something with Baker Mayfield. That's gone. We get Deshaun Watson, 40 quarterbacks since 1999. I don't know how much more Browns fans can take. I'm sure it's tough for the Bills, but at least you've been there.
It's that old adage, right? Like, is it better to have been close and missed, or rather than to be not close at all? Right? I mean, that's it. I mean, the Bills have had a lot of at-bats at this thing through the years. So it's one of those things where I think you'd want that. You want the at-bats is what you want versus not having at-bats and not being able to be in the mix. No time for 3 today. Rothman and Ice are coming up next. We are back tomorrow. Enjoy your first Friday. Act accordingly. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Matty Ice is currently bathing himself in creamy jalapeno dip. And I've officially run out of ways to tease this show. Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays at noon.
The Fan. This is a Fan Action Update.
This Action Update is sponsored by Logan Services. Free furnace with the purchase of an AC. Elevated event on the PGA Tour this week, as it is the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Scotty Scheffler's the favorite at plus 425. Colin Morikawa has the second best odds, 12-1, with Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy both 13-1. For your Logan Services Action Update, I'm Scotty Vegas.
Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
Next on Metro's Nada Yada Island podcast.
I almost fainted when the 4 new bombshells arrived. 4 free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G phones at Metro.
No way.
And finding out the 4th line is free. Oh, things got heated.
That's wild. Join Metro and get 4 free Samsung 5G phones. Only at Metro.
Plus tax. Bring 4 numbers and an ID and sign up for any Metro Flex plan. Not available currently at T-Mobile or have been with Metro in the past 180 days.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelty can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelty?
Just send them a text.
Text CORE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CORE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CORE to 200-300. That's CORE to 200-300. CORE to 200-300.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.